today. Good evening, everyone. If you can hear me, just type in a yes into the chat so I know that I'm audible. Good. Adore, Aishat, Mutiat, fantastic. Good to have you all join us this wonderful evening. So just before we start, let's get to know where you are joining us from. All right? Let's get to know where you're joining us from. Just type it in the chat if you're joining from Nigeria, from Ghana, Calgary, Canada, fantastic, South Africa, brilliant, Nigeria. Good to have you all join us today. We're going to have an amazing session, and today's session will be centered around helping you build your very first Power BI dashboard. Okay, so if you've never built a dashboard before, you don't know what a dashboard is, you've never used Power BI, I'll be introducing you into Power BI. We'll do that for the first 1 hour of our session, and then we'll take the next hour to walk through what it takes to become a data analyst. All right, so that's what our session today would center around: how to build your first Power BI reports as a data analyst. I'll also come joining from Nigeria. Good to have you on the call today. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and let's kick off our session. Okay, so just give me 1 second, share my screen, and then we'll kick off with the main meat of our session today. So like I said, today is a practical class, and I'll try to make it as simple as possible so that by the time you get back, you can replicate all the things I'll be showing you. Okay, Ima from Nigeria, fantastic. Istanbul, Abdul from Istanbul, Shegun from Italy, brilliant. That's the beauty of being in a virtual instructor-led class. You have a diverse set of individuals cutting across different locations. Okay, now let's get into it. So I'll share my slides, and then just give me a second. I'll share my slide, and then we'll kick off with the main meat of our session today. So like I said, and I'm just going to put off, if you have your videos on, please put it off so that we don't distract. All right, so we don't have any distraction. So building your first Power BI reports, that's what our session today would be all about. And it doesn't matter if you've done this before or not. If it's your first time, you don't even know what Power BI is, it's okay. It's not a problem at all. Okay, so what I'll do is, we have a data set, and I'd love you to work with me because I want us to have a very good interactive session. I'll show you what the data looks like, and then together we'll answer some key questions, based on the data that we have. And in answering those questions, we'll build a very simple report. Okay, and once we've built the reports, I'd want 1 or 2 people to tell us what they can see from the reports we have built. And we'll try to do that within the space of an hour before we move into the non-practical part of our session, which is showing you what you need to start to learn. A lot of people want to transition into data analytics, but then they don't know how to do that. All right, they don't know what to learn. They start learning things that they shouldn't, and they start, from the end and learn backwards, which is a lot more difficult compared to learning the fundamentals, the background in data analytics that will drive the more advanced concept you'll be learning in the future. All right, but before we dive into it, just so that you know what Tenalytics is all about and who we are as an organization, we're an educational technology company with a focus on helping Africans and people of the Black community to get into tech. And one of the ways we do this is by lowering the entry barrier into tech, providing premium training programs across different areas, from data analytics to data science to business analysis, HR analytics, Power Platform engineering, and so on and so forth. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is on the quality of the trainers and the facilitators we bring to bear. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to help over 1,000 people move from the classroom to getting their first jobs in tech, which is one of the most difficult things to do. You've learned different concepts in class. You've joined a data analytics program, and then you have learned. How do you then take that knowledge, get a job, get started within the tech ecosystem, and implement and apply all the skills you have learned? So we've helped over 1,000 people over the space of 3 years to get their very first jobs in tech and get started within the tech ecosystem. And for those joining us for the very first time, my name is Adeza Suleiman. I haven't introduced myself yet. And I'm a data analytics expert with close to a decade years of experience in data analytics. I've worked as a data science consultant for organizations in the UK and in the US. And I've also worked across 5 different sectors, helping organizations take data-driven decisions, analyzing the data they have, extracting insights from the data, and helping them drive growth within the different companies within the organization themselves. I've worked in financial services, automobile, energy, sports, and of course, I've also worked in educational technology. And I've trained personally well over 8,500 people over the course of my career, spanning close to a decade. And I'll be sharing some of my experience with you as we move on today. And just to give you an overview of what we have to cover, first of all, we'll build our first Power BI report. That's the first thing we'll do. A simple report that everybody here would be able to build by the time we are done. Okay? Everybody, 180 plus, we're expecting more people to join, would be able to build the report I'll be building, even though you have never done it before. All right? Then we'll move into the skills you need to transition into data analytics. Oh, I want to become a data analyst. I want to get a job. I'm in the UK. I'm doing my master's. I want to ensure that I have the skills to get the best jobs out there available. I'll talk about the skills you need to learn and how to land jobs within the data analyst space or data analytics space. And then I'll introduce the program we have coming up November 4th. And last but not the least, we'll talk about some success stories. And I have a special discount for those that stay to the end of the session. For the success stories, it's always good to see people that have passed the same routes that you're about to take, and also get to see people that have done it and have achieved the same feat you're trying to achieve. It's a lot easier for you to relate to their success and also ensure that and give yourself that confidence that if they can do it, then I can also do the same. Okay, so this is the overview of what our session today would look like. And I would like for us to keep it as interactive as possible. So if you have questions at any point in time, please make a note of your question, and then we'll take questions towards the end of the class. Somebody's saying they cannot hear me. Business analytics, is it the same as data analytics? Business analytics and data analytics are twins, okay? Twin brother and sister. So they're very, very similar, very similar. The only difference is business analytics is tailored and focused towards the business entity itself, while data analytics cuts across so many other areas apart from just the business. So confirm you can hear me, Joan. If you can hear me, please just confirm you can hear me, because too many people are complaining about the audio. Loud and clear, Nkem. Thank you very much, Andrew. Okay, brilliant. So let's move into the main meat. The main meat of our session today is the practical part of things. Now, one of the ways you can enjoy this class is by watching what I'm doing, okay? Not trying to follow me and do the things I'll be showing you, because the moment you try to do the same and you miss a step, you'd struggle to catch up, all right? However, if you want to, you are free to follow me and do all the things I'll be showing you, all right? But we're going to look at a case study, and I'll show you the case study, and I'll show you the data set and what the data looks like. Then afterwards, I'll show you how to download and install Power BI, and then we'll kick off with the practical bits of our session. I want to find out very quickly, how many of you joined the HR Analytics Masterclass yesterday? If you joined the HR Analytics Masterclass yesterday, just type in yes into the chat. Just type in yes. If you joined the HR Analytics Masterclass, fantastic. I did. Adeni, Kenechi, oh, you missed it. Oluwatoyin. That's okay. All right, so we have quite a number of you that joined yesterday. So interestingly, the same data set we used to do one or two things in Excel, would use that same data set to create our report or build our report in Power BI. All right. So it doesn't matter if you didn't join yesterday. Today's class is totally different. I'm just saying that for those who joined yesterday, you'll be seeing the same data sets. The difference would be that we're using a different, analytic tool to create our reports. Yesterday we did Excel. Today we'll be using Power BI. All right. So what's the background to the case? What's the case study? What does the organization want to solve? The organization is currently having challenges with regards to talent acquisition, and they want to resolve this problem. All right. And in coming up with a talent acquisition strategy, they need to come up with that from a data-driven point of view. So they don't want to come up, and this would go out to any other organization out there that wants to grow and wants to stay competitive. You want to take data-driven decisions. So what do we do with regards to talent? How do we hire? Where does the best type of employees come from? Do we have employees that come from another competitor that gets to perform better than other employees we have in the organization? So these are key questions you want to find out, you want to ask. All right. Who are the type of employee, or what category of employee would stay the longest in terms of loyalty, stay in the business, have a very long, career within the organization? Can we test? Can we try and see the category of employees that will fall within that bucket so that we can tailor our talent strategy? We know where to hire. Are we getting the best talent from LinkedIn, or are we getting them from our company's websites, and so on and so forth? So we have all these questions that we have to answer. So the name of the company is Teron Corporations, a leading technology firm facing challenges in its talent acquisition strategies. Now, while the company has a diverse pool of employees, the leadership is keen to know the recruitment channels, right, and the background of the employees that would lead to the best talent eventually. All right, so they want to refine their hiring strategy. Where should we hire from? Where do we need to focus? Where do we need to focus on? And so on and so forth. And of course, they've come to you, who has the ability to analyze data and extract insights from data. And they've given you some key areas to consider. Okay, and I would say this is the best, scenario possible, where you need to do some analysis and you've been told beforehand what to do. So you know what you're diving into. You're not diving into it blindly. You know what you are diving into. So the first question we want to answer, like I said, would create all these things by solving these questions one after the other. All right. The first question is, we want to find out how many employees are in the organization, first of all. Secondly, what is the average tenure of all the employees within the organization? What's the average performance score for the employees? And lastly, what is the average satisfaction score? Okay, we'll look at the data and then we'll see that all these different features are all inherent in the data set. How many employees, the average tenure, the average performance score, and the average satisfaction score. We want to know, we want to find out and calculate these different scores. Secondly, we want to see the recruitment trend from 2018 to 2023. How many employees did we hire in 2018, 2019, 2020, up until 2023? We want to, also show this as well. All right. Question 3, which sources of hire produces the best performing employees? You want to then find out, do you get your best employees from LinkedIn, from recruitment agencies, from the company's websites, the company's adverts? You want to find out the recruitment source or the source of hire that produces the best performing employees. And of course, you also want to know the recruitment source that produces the most loyal employees, simply the employees that would stay the longest within the company. You also want to find out the sources of hire that gives you those type of employees. Question number 5, you want to find out the previous employers that tend to have the best performing employee. Now, this is a technology-based organization. So you have instances where Google is trying to snap and snatch your employees from you. Apple is trying to snatch your employees, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there is this cycle of employees moving from one organization to the other. So you also get employees from other organizations, and you want to find out which of the previous employers tends to have the best performing employees. So you can target those employers and headhunt or poach some employees for some key roles within the organization. All right. You also want to find out, which is the last question we want to answer, which university produces the best performing employee? The university that produces the best performing employee. Okay, so these are the 6 questions that we have to answer. Very interesting. Okay, now let's look at the data sets. Let's look at the data set and see what the data looks like. All right, but also remember that in looking at the data itself, the data would not tell you much. You really can't get much from the data. What you need to then do as a data analyst is translating the data into something that is visually appealing, that somebody can see and understand what you're trying to do or what you're trying to tell them. Okay, so let's look at the data set first of all. And of course, to get access to the data set, all you have to do is you click on this link that you have. I'm going to share the link on the Zoom chat so that for those that want to download and follow what I'm doing, you can do that. And for those that, what I would advise you to do is you can download the data set and everything, but take your time, listen in, ask questions, and at the end of the session, at your own convenience, you can then create and build the things I'll be showing you. Okay, so I'm going to click on the link and show you what happens when you do that. All right, so just give me a second. Sorry, I was watching the UFC. I'm going to click on this, click on the link, and let's see where it takes us to. So once you click on the link, it takes you to the data. It's opening the file, talent sourcing 2. All right, now it brings you here. But again, remember that you don't want to do anything here. Okay, you want to take and download this data set into your computer. You want to download into your computer. So all you need to do is click on File. So let me drop the link. Let me drop the link in the chat so that you can also follow what I'm doing if you want to. All right, I'm dropping it now in the chat. Can we have access to the data set? Yes, that's it. I just dropped it now. For those who would like to download, please go ahead and download the data from there. All right, I just dropped it. I'll paste it again. I can see people are joining already. Interesting. You see them here. Okay, so all you need to do is click on File. All right, go to Download and download as an Excel file. All right, you can download as Excel, you can download as a CSV, depending on what you want. But let's download as an Excel file. All right, so click on File, go to Download and download as a Microsoft Excel file. So I just click on that, and that's all I need to do. And once I click on download, it downloads the file into my downloads folder. Downloads the file into my downloads folder. Okay, it downloads the file into my downloads folder. So we can all get that done and get the file into our computers. All right, so once you have this downloaded, I'll go to my downloads folder and let's see. Okay, so that's the file I just downloaded. All right, I'll go to my downloads folder and I'll open it up. Okay, I'll double click on the file I just downloaded, double click on it, and let's open it and see what it looks like before we even open up Power BI. All right, so I'm just going to double click on it and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what we have. All right, I think I have something here I need to, yeah. Okay, so this is what we have. All right, employee ID, source of hire, date of hire, position/role, department, performance score. This is the performance score of each employee from 0 to 10. Okay, so you have 7.2, 6, 5.2, 3.5, and so on and so forth. You have the performance score. You have the number of promotions, the tenure, how long the employees have been in the company, 2.4 years, 2 years, 4.7 years, and so on and so forth. You have the tenure of each employee. You have the reasons for leaving, even though that column is blank, but you're meant to have the reasons for leaving in each, but you have no employee that have left the company so far, so that's blank. Training programs attended, the number of training you have employees attend, employee satisfaction score, all right, from 0 to 10 as well, peer review score, salary bracket, okay, the salary bracket for each employee, employee referrals, mentorship participation, educational background, master's, BSc, and so on. Alma mater, that's the previous universities they attended. Skills/certifications, previous employer, and then industry experience. So this is what the data looks like. Okay, now from this data that we have, we can't answer the questions I just reeled out from the slide because you really can't do anything with the slides you have here. Okay, you need to have a tool. You need to have a way to extract insights, summarize this data, the entire data set, summarize it in a way that it's easy to understand. It's in a way that anybody who looks at this can tell exactly what you're trying to show them and the question you're trying to answer. Okay, and that's what we are going to do. So this is what the data looks like itself in Excel. All right, and I'm going to show you how to get this into Power BI, even though you've never done it before, and also how to create a report answering all those questions you have on the slide. Okay, so just to show you what the data looks like, which is absolutely what you have on the screen at the moment, please, if you have your video off, kindly turn it off so that we don't have distractions. Share the link again. Okay, so I just did again. I just dropped the link again in the chat one more time. All right. Trying to use another laptop, that's fine. Like I said, if you want to follow, it's okay. However, the best way you'd follow me all through is watch what I'm doing at your own convenience. When you don't have any pressure, no distractions, you can work on your own reports. All right, so what I'll do is I'll close this because I don't need to use it now. Okay, I'll close it up and I just opened it for you to see. Do you want to save? We can save or don't save. Okay, now what we want to do next is downloading Power BI. All right, downloading Power BI. And all you have to do is go to your browser, open up your browser. For those of you that don't have Power BI installed, how do you download and install Power BI? Open up your browser and simply just type in download Power BI desktop. Okay, download Power BI desktop. It's pretty straightforward. Download Power BI desktop. That's all you need to type and then hit enter. Okay, download Power BI desktop and what? Hit enter. Okay, you want to look for the option that says, you can see this option that has downloads Microsoft Power BI. Okay, downloads Microsoft Power BI. You want to look for this specific option, else you'd click on different links. If you click on any of the links that pops up, you'd eventually have to navigate your way to the final, page where you can download Power BI. But if you look for this specific option that says downloads Microsoft Power BI, it downloads it for you easily. So I'm going to copy the link address and I'll drop it in the chat. For every link I'll be using today, you'd have them on the slide. So when you get the slide, you can access the link. Okay, so I'm going to click on downloads Microsoft Power BI. All right, and when I do that, it brings me to this page where I can download my Power BI. Okay, now what do I want to download? Do I want to download any Power BI or a specific Power BI? I want to download the Microsoft Power BI desktop because this is the Power BI version that would be on my laptop and I would use to create my reports. The Power BI mobile is for viewing reports on your mobile phone, your iPhone, your Android, your Samsung, and so on and so forth, okay? But you can't auto report. You can't build the reports using your mobile. You can only build the reports using the Power BI you have downloaded and installed on your computers. So you want to download the Microsoft Power BI desktop, all right? But how do you download? You have two options. One says download, the other says advanced download options. I always advise you to click on advanced download options, and I'll tell you the reason why. If you click on download straight away, what happens is it opens up the Microsoft Store and try to install Power BI over the air on your computer straight from the Microsoft Store. But you want to download the file, the installation file to your computer and execute that installation file to install Power BI. So what you do is you click on advanced download options. All right, advanced download options. And once you click on that, it brings you to where you get to download your Power BI. All right, make sure you select the language English. Okay, select the language English, and you'd also see that you have two options: Power BI Setup, Power BI Setup 64. The 64 is for laptops that have 64-bit operating systems. But if you're not sure, just download the very first one, and that still works perfectly. The moment you click on download, it gives you the option to select either the first or the second. Okay, so I'm going to click on download and you can see it brings me here. Okay, so you can either select the first one if you're not sure you have a 32-bit or 64-bit computer. But if you have a 64-bit computer, you select the second option. But how do you even check that you have a 64-bit or 32-bit? Very, very simple. All you have to do is check your file explorer. Okay, so I'm going to open any file explorer at all and look for where you have this PC. Everybody can go here. Open any folder on your computer. You open up that folder, you'd see this PC, just like my computer that you'd see eventually. So go to this PC, right click on it, right click on this PC and click on properties. And the moment you click on properties, I'm just going to show that it's opened up on my other screen. I'm going to put that on the screen so you can see. So once you right click on this PC and you click on properties, you'd see the system type, 64-bit operating system. Okay, 64-bit operating system. So that's how you can easily check if you have a 64-bit. If you have a 32-bit, it will tell you 32-bit operating system. Okay, and how do you get here? Very simple. Open up any folder on your computer, go to this PC, right click on this PC and click on properties. That's all you have to do. And it shows you your system type. All right. So now that I know that I have a 64-bit, I know the option to select to download my Power BI. Okay. So I just thought I should show you this before you eventually get to download. I've downloaded and installed already, so I don't have to download again. So I have a 64-bit, so I select the second option. But if you're not sure and you still cannot check if it's a 32 or 64, just click on the very first option. Okay, click on the very first option and download. Hit the download button. The moment you click on download, it starts to download Power BI for you straight away into your downloads folder. And installing is very straightforward. So once it has downloaded Power BI, you'd have the Power BI file that looks like this. Okay, so let me show you this. So you see the Power BI file here, Power BI, PBI desktop setup 64. And once you double click on it, you'd see the option, it starts to install Power BI. All you have to do is click on next, 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 and Power BI is installed. You really don't have to do anything technical, no. Double click on the setup file that downloads into your computer, and then click on next, next, next until you have Power BI installed. Okay, so that's pretty much how to download and install Power BI. Very straightforward. Okay, very, very straightforward. For those of you using Mac, Apple laptops, is different. All right, it's a different step entirely. And I can't show you the step because I'm using a Windows PC. Okay, but what we usually do for you is at the end of the session, when you're getting the recording, you'd also get a guide on how to install Power BI on Mac. Because as of today, you don't have a dedicated version of Power BI for Mac. Power BI is on Windows, not on Mac. So for you to install Power BI on your Mac, you need to have a virtual machine. Okay, so there are steps for you to get that done, and we'll send that across to you as well. Okay, now that we've seen where to click on, search for download Power BI, look for how to download and install, then let's open up Power BI. Okay, let's open up Power BI. And for every application you download and install, to bring it up, all you have to do is go to search, look for the search bar on your computer and simply type Power BI. Simply type Power BI and you'd see it come up as long as you have downloaded and installed. But like I said, if you're trying to download and install right on the call today, you'd likely miss one or two steps and you struggle to follow. But let's follow what I'm doing. Ask your questions. Let's interact. I would explain every tiny bit of step I'll be taking today. So if there's anything that is not clear, ask me, I would explain, and you'd see how I'll do it and get things done. So that when you go back on your own, you can create it yourself. Everybody today, 312 of you, would be able to create what I'll be showing you, even if you haven't used Power BI ever. Okay, so once you click on Power BI desktop, it would launch. You'd see the Power BI icon come up and it starts to bring up Power BI. It would start to launch and eventually it would launch the application. Microsoft Power BI is a fantastic tool for any data analyst. All right, as a data analyst, you must know how to use Power BI, just as you must also know how to use Microsoft Excel. Microsoft Power BI is also a Microsoft tool, a Microsoft application for business intelligence. So the BI after Power BI is simply Power Business Intelligence. Okay, and it's a tool that you use to analyze data and visualize the data. It has so many other capabilities, automating your reporting and so on and so forth. Power BI, that name Power is actually, it deserves that name Power because it's a very powerful tool. And we'll see some of the little powers of Power BI today before we wrap up our session. All right. So once you launch Power BI, you'd see this very first page. You don't need this. Okay. Don't bother yourself with this. Just click on close at the top right corner. And then you have a blank page. You really don't have anything you can see here on Power BI. It's simply just what? Blank. It's saying you should add data to your reports. So for you to start doing anything or analyzing the data, you need to do what? Add the data to the report. Okay, you need to add data for you to start analyzing. Nasir, please type in your question into the chat. Okay, because if I allow everybody to unmute and ask their questions, we would not finish today. I'm not sharing my screen. I'm sharing my screen, Nasir. I can see that I'm sharing my screen. Okay, I would like to reschedule. Ubong, that's something you can, I don't think that's a problem at all. Please, does it mean that when the system type? Okay, so I'm just trying to see the questions we have in the chat. All right. Now you can see what Power BI looks like. Very unassuming, really can't see much here. But then that data set I showed you, where you saw employee ID, you saw the source of hire, you saw all those things. We're going to bring it into Power BI and analyze so that we can answer those key questions that we have. Remember the question. The first one, we want to see how many employees in the organization, the average tenure, the average performance, and the average employee satisfaction score. Secondly, we want to show the recruitment trend. We also want to see the sources of hire that produces the best performing employees. We want to see the sources of hire that also produces the most loyal employees, and also determine the previous employers that tend to have the best performing employees. And lastly, the universities that produces the best performing employees. So these are the 6 questions we want to answer from the data that we have. We're going to start with question number 1. How many employees? How many employees? But you can't even answer this question if you haven't gotten data into Power BI. So that's the very first thing. The data I sent, the link I sent to the chat, which at the end of the day, you'd also get the slides. And all you have to do is click on the link to download. You have to bring that data into Power BI, okay, for you to analyze. And like I said, you don't have to have done this before. Trust me. If this is your first time, follow all the steps I'll be showing you and you'll get it done. For me to get my data into Excel, into Power BI, I beg your pardon, I need to click on something. Now, at the top left corner, you would see something that says get data. Get data. If you look at my mouse, you'd see the top left corner. It says get data. Get data, what do you think it does? Type it into the chat. If I click on get data, what do you think get data would do? I want you to type it into the chat. Just guess, wild guess. If you click on get data, what happens? Or what do you think would happen? What do you think would happen? Importing the data to connect to the data source. Import the data, import the data, import the data. Everybody's saying import the data. Absolutely. Get data, and that's what makes Power BI fantastic. It's very intuitive. Okay, so you can look at different things and without even, without anybody telling you what a particular button or feature does, you can guess and tell. Get data simply shows you how to get data into Power BI. That's it. So I'm going to click on the drop down, and you have your common data sources. Common data sources. And one of the data source is Excel. Excel workbook. Remember, the data that we downloaded, the link I sent to you, is that you downloaded as Excel. Okay, so you want to bring in your data source, which is an Excel workbook. All right, so I'm going to click on Excel workbook because my data is in Excel. So I click on Excel workbook and I click on my download because my file is also in my downloads. Okay, so I click on downloads. Now, the moment you click on downloads, you start to see all the Excel files in your downloads. And if you look very closely, let me maximize this a bit. You can see my talent sourcing data set, the data I downloaded, the one you also downloaded, the link I sent to the chat, and the link you have on my slides. Talent sourcing, that's where the data is. So I'm going to click on talent sourcing. Okay, I click on talent sourcing because that's the data I want to bring in. And then I click on what? Open. Okay, so what did we do? Get data, Excel workbook, go to your downloads where you have that file, and then you click on the file and click on what? Open. Okay, you click on the file and then you click on what? Open. Now, when you click on open, Power BI is simply, what you are doing is you are sending Power BI to that downloads folder. I have data in talents, in this talent sourcing file. I want you to get the data from talent sourcing. Extract the data for me because I want to analyze that data to answer some key questions for my organization so we can develop our talent strategy. All right. Now you can see your navigator window. The navigator window has talent sourcing and then data sets. These data sets, if I click on it, you'd see that it's the preview of my data and what my data is. The data I opened up in Excel when I downloaded, that's exactly what I have here, the preview of the data. Let me maximize this a bit so we can see the preview. So employee ID, source of hire, date of hire, position, department, performance score, number of promotions, and so on and so forth. That's what we have. All right. So this is the data that I want. This is the data I want to analyze to answer those key questions. So I need to select the data. I need to what? Select. I only clicked on it, so it showed me the preview. But to select the data, you need to click on the tick box right beside the data itself. So you see a tick box right here. You need to click on that tick box to select the data. Okay, you click on the tick box to select the data. Now, the moment you click on the tick box, at the down right corner, you have three options. The first option is to load. The second option is to transform. And the third option is to cancel. And I'm going to teach you something here very quickly before I click on anything. When you are working with Power BI, there is something you must always take note of. Okay, you must always take note of something when working with Power BI, and I'll quickly just point it out to you. When you're working with Power BI, you must take note of something called ETL. ETL, and that's the flow of how you get data into Power BI. ETL. And what does ETL mean? E is for extract. T is for transform. And L is for load. Okay, so when bringing data into Power BI, you're going to first of all extract that data. Then you will transform the data. And transforming simply means if this data has issues, if it is not clean, if I have to make changes, I want to change the name of a colon, I want to replace something, I want to move something from being horizontal to vertical. If you have to make changes to that data, you have to transform. So after extracting, you transform. Before you what? Load. Loading is the final step. So you don't load directly. You extract, you transform, and then you load. ETL is not just a concept in Power BI, it's a concept in data warehousing, databases, and so on and so forth. You even in data engineering itself, how you move data from one location to a database or a data warehouse. So ETL, extract, transform, and load means I'm going to extract my data. I'll make changes to the data if I need to make changes. If the data is dirty, I have to clean it. If the data is not in the right shape, I have to put it in the right shape, which is all about transforming before I load my data into Power BI. Okay, so always remember this, ETL. All right, now that I've said this, haven't said that, looking at the three options that we have at the down right corner, I've extracted my data because I've clicked on this. I want to bring in the data, and you can see the preview of the data right here. But do I load it? Do I transform? Or do I cancel? What do I do? Type it into the chat. What do you think we need to do? Ruby says transform. V says transform. Transform, transform. Somebody said load. Transform, transform, transform. So I can see more of transform than load. Remember, I just taught you something, ETL, extract, transform, and load. Always transform before you load. All right. So I'm not going to load it directly, even though that's very tempting because load is colored in green, but I'm going to transform. So you click on what? Transform data. All right. You click on transform data. And once you click on transform data, it takes you into an interesting environment where you can now see your data like rows and columns, just like you would see the data in Excel if you ever open the data in Excel. So you'd see the data, what the data looks like, employee ID, source of hire, date of hire, and so on and so forth. All right, you can now see it in the shape of rows and columns. The essence of clicking on transform is if I want to make changes to my data sets, I can make changes from here. All right, if I want to make changes to my data set, I can make changes from here. Okay, we're not going to dwell on transform because we're not going to dwell on transforming the data or cleaning the data and so on. Because of time, we can't do every single thing we need to do using Power BI. Okay, however, I want you to put this at the back of your mind that 80% of the time, data would not be in the right shape and the right format for you to analyze. You'd have to do what? Do some level of transformation. You'd have to clean. You'd have to convert something from horizontal to vertical. Your dates might not be in the correct format. You might have a combination of the US date format, the British date format, and then you have to make changes to the date format. Okay. Now, once you have loaded the data, we've brought the data into an environment for us to transform. We have not loaded it yet. One of the things you want to check before you load, all right, is the data types. The data types. And what are data types? And I want somebody to just quickly answer this question. Let's look at source of hire. What type of data do I have in the column source of hire? What type of data do I have? Do I have numbers? Is it numerical? Is it text? Text, all right? Text, absolutely. You guys are all smart. I think I can just say that somebody from the class should just take the class and we are good to go. All right. So now we have text or strings, whatever, categorical data, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so you want to look at each column and be sure that you have selected the right data type. Power BI does it for you automatically. Okay, but one of the things you do during your transformation is to also check yourself for the correct data type. But like I said, because of time, we're not going to dwell on all of that. All right, but that's the next thing you are meant to do. Check the data type step by step and ensure that you have the right type of data type. Preferably, you choose the data types yourself. Okay, and if we can do that very quickly, maybe I think we should do it. All right, so at the right-hand side where you see applied steps, you'd see changed type. All these steps you have here are steps done for you by the system automatically. Power Query, which is the environment we are currently in, has done all these things for you. It has also changed the type. So it will look at each column and see that, okay, employee ID, I have numbers, so I'm just going to select numbers. Source of hire, I have text, so I'm going to give it text. So it has changed the data types for you, and that's why you have changed type. Okay, so we're going to run through all the columns and look at the data type and see if there's any data type that is wrongly selected. All right, one by one. Date of hire is date, and you can see the data type here is a date data type. So if you click on any of these icons, ABC, beside position or role, ABC means what? Text. ABC means text. So if you click on that, you'd see ABC that says what? Text. So if you have a column that has a wrong data type, then once you click on the icon for the data type, it gives you this drop down and you can select the correct data type that you want. Okay, but the data types are fine. We don't need to change any data type. Apart from this reason for leaving, which is blank, it's a blank column. And that's why you'd see ABC 1, 2, 3. So whenever you're working with your Power BI or your Power Query, we're currently in Power Query. When you click on transform, it opens up a new environment for you to clean up your data and make changes. That environment is a powerful environment, is a powerful engine called the Power Query editor. You can take a note, make a note of it. Every time you click on the transform option, it opens up an environment called Power Query editor. Okay, Power Query editor. It opens it up for you. All right, and where you see where I'm currently at is called the Power Query editor, the Power Query editor, and that's where you do very fantastic, amazing transformations. Okay, but we don't have transformations to do today, so we're not going to dwell on transformations. Okay, now one of the other things I'll just change is this reason for leaving. Because it is blank, it has not assigned a particular data type. So you just have ABC and 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what we're going to do is reason for leaving is text, is going to be text related data. We know this because people leave because they not enough pay, they are moving for career progression. So you'd have those texts written under that column. So we're going to change it to text. So I'll click on ABC 1, 2, 3, and I'll change it to what? Text. Okay, so now I have just ABC. So whenever you see ABC, that is text. Whenever you see ABC with a 1, 2, 3 underneath, it means that no data type has been assigned. So Power Query is confused and does not know the data type to assign to that column. Okay. So what we are going to do now is we're going to load the data because, like I mentioned, we don't have changes to make. So we're just going to load the data. And how do I load the data? At the top left corner, you'd see the option that says close and apply. All right, you see the option that says close and apply. So I click on the drop down, close and apply, and then I close and apply. All right. So we've completed the step of ETL. Extract, which we connected to that file in our downloads. Transform, we didn't have to do transformation because, like I said, the data is clean. We don't have time to start to transform because we'd spend the rest of your Sunday here. And then we've loaded the data. So when you close and apply, what you've done is you have loaded your data into Power BI. And how do you know you've loaded your data? You'd see under the data pane at the right-hand side, you'd see the data sets loaded with a drop-down. And if I click on the drop-down, you'd see all the columns that we have in that data. Alma mater, date of hire, department, educational background, employee ID, employee referrals, employee satisfaction. So all the columns, you'd see them at the right-hand side. Okay, so now we have loaded our data. The main work would then have to start. The main work would then have to what? Start. And what's the main work? Answering the questions. Answering the questions. The questions we have on the slide, it's now time for us to answer those questions. Okay, now in answering the question, as an analyst, you have to also be a designer. And always remember this, data analytics, especially data visualization. So I'm going to write a lot while I'm explaining this so that we all get the concept. Data visualization, okay, when you have to visualize your data, so data visualization is not just a science, it is a science plus art. It is a science and it is also an art. Okay, why is data visualization an art? You want to show your insights in a way that is easy and visually appealing for people to see and understand. All right, so you have to design, you have to be a designer, you have to envision how you want your reports to look like. Oh, you have total number of employees. Where do I want to display that? Average tenure, where do I want to display? Average performance, where do I want to display? So you must come up with that picture of how you want to visualize. So data visualization is an art and it is also a science. Okay, it's a science because you're going to do 1 or 2 calculations to get something and so on and so forth. Okay, now we have an idea of what we want to create and it looks like this. Okay, so this is what we're going to build in the next 30 minutes. All right, and by the time I'm done, everybody on the call would be able to build the same thing. So we have an idea of what we want to do. Now, because today's class is a 2.5-hour session, we can't spend all the time here explaining all the nitty-gritty and all the details. Because the question would then be, how do you come up with this design to build your reports? Why this design? Why not any other design? Why this particular one? You have to be a designer, like I mentioned. And one of the ways you come up with your report outline is by looking at different previous reports done within that space. And the more reports you build, the more experience you also become. Oh, I want to show my total employees. So I'm going to show it in the box here. Average tenure, I'll show it in the box. Average performance, another box. Average employee satisfaction, another box. So even if you have 6 boxes, you know how to reduce the sizes to fit 6 boxes at different places. You can put it at the left-hand side, you can put it at the top. Okay, but usually your numbers, the KPIs that everybody would want to see has to be placed somewhere that is easy for, is easily visible and easy to the eyes for all your audience and anybody that will be looking at it. So all the other questions that are going to answer, you have your different boxes. And all this is what you do at the beginning before you even start to do what? Create your report. Okay, but I've done this for us already. I've done this. We have an idea of what our design is going to look like. So we're going to follow this pattern to come up with our reports. So how do you even come up with this? How do you know the number of employees that you have? How do you calculate the average tenure? How do you calculate the average performance, the average employee satisfaction? How do you calculate all these things? That's what I'm going to be showing you in the next 30 minutes. So let's get back to Power BI. Okay. Now, the moment you load your data into Power BI, how do you see your data? How do you see your data in the shape of rows and columns? At the left-hand side, you'll see three icons. One icon is called the report view. The second one is called the table view or data view. And the third one is called the model view. Now, if you click on the table view or the data view, you'd see your data in the shape of what? Rows and columns. Rows and columns. So you can see the way it is in rows and columns: employee ID, source of hire, date of hire, position/role, and so on and so forth. So you can see your data here. Now, let's answer question 1 together. And I want somebody who is going to unmute to tell me what you think. Okay? How do we calculate the total number of employees? How do we calculate that? How do we know the total number of employees? You have the data that shows each employee, 1007, 1013, 1026, and so on. You have the employee IDs. How do we know? How do we calculate the number of employees? Okay, let me ask Egbe. I've asked you to unmute yourself. Iwasam Egbe, please go ahead and tell us. What do we do? Iwasam, I've asked you to unmute. Please go ahead and tell us what you think. Okay, let me move on. Let me take from the chart then, since Iwasam is not ready. We don't have a lot of time. So Joshua is saying count of employee ID by using employee ID by counting. Okay, so count, simple and short. All we need to do is count the employee ID. How many employees do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start counting one by one, but we can't do that by looking at it visually and counting it one by one. And that's where we use calculations inside Power BI to help us do that. Okay, we're going to instruct Power BI to carry out some calculations for us by writing those calculations, and Power BI will do it for us. Okay, so I'll go back to my report view. Table view is where you see the data like this, but we don't need all of that. So I'll click on my report view. Your report view is like your canvas. If you're a painter, you have your canvas that you use to paint. That's where you do your stuff and fantastic stuff. So you go to the report view, and it's time for us to start to paint. Okay, so we want to count the number of employees. And for us to count the number of employees, we would need to do what? Create a calculation. All right, we need to create a calculation. The calculation would create in Power BI is not the typical calculations you use in Excel or any other tool. The calculations inside of Power BI are called DAX. Okay, they are called what? DAX. They're not just called calculations, they're called DAX. And what is DAX? DAX is what? Data Analysis Expressions. Pardon my handwriting. Okay, DAX is what? Data Analysis Expressions. So when you write calculations inside Power BI, you use DAX functions. You simply write what? DAX. That's what it's called. DAX, Data Analysis Expressions. Okay, now in writing DAX, you'd realize that a lot of the functions you would use are similar to the functions you'd find in Excel. your sum function, sum for sum, count, if function, and so on and so forth. There's so many similar functions that you have in Excel, you also have inside of Power BI. Okay, so I'll go back to my report. Let's go back to Power BI and let's write our very first calculation. And in doing that in Power BI, you are creating something called a measure. Okay, so measure is what allows you write your DAX expressions. Okay, and how do you write your measures? Where you have your data sets, the data you've loaded into Power BI, just simply go to that data, right-click on it, and you'd see something called what? New measure. New what? Measure. So instead of seeing something like new calculation, you'd see what? New measure. So I'll click on new measure so that I can write the DAX that would help me count the total number of employees. Okay, so when I click on that, you have measure. You can see that at the top here. Let me maximize so we can see it better. Measure equal to. Measure equal to. So I'm going to change the measure equal to. I'm just going to select that and type in what? Total employees. Okay, I want to calculate the total number of employees. So total employees equal to what? I'm going to write my very first DAX function, which is count. I want to what? Count. And the moment you type in the function you want to use, you'd see the drop down. And what do I want to do? I want to what? Count. So total employees equal to what? Count. I'm going to click on count. What do I want to count? I want to count the employee ID. So each employee has their ID, your staff ID, your staff number. So count each employee ID for me. So I'll simply go to employee ID, count the what? Employee ID colon in the dataset table. So I'll click on employee ID and then I'll close my brackets. That's all I need to do. So what I've written here simply is what? Total employees equal to count the employee ID colon in the dataset table. That's all. And the moment I hit enter, it's going to create that measure for me or that calculation for me. So I'll hit enter. Okay. And the moment I hit enter, you'd see it here under my table called what? Total employees, the measure I just created. So with this, you won't see any number appear when you hit enter, just like in Excel where you see the number, the total would appear. No, but you've created the calculation. And for you to see that calculation, you'd have to use a visual. And that's the beauty of Power BI. You have to use a visual, okay? But we haven't gotten there yet. Let's create the calculations that we want to use. So we've calculated total employees. That gives us the total number of employees in that company by counting the employee ID. The next calculation we want from the slide is what? The average tenure. Average what? Tenure. If you look very closely, you'd see that you have the tenure of each employee tenure. All right. So we want to calculate the average tenure. So how long would an employee stay on the average with this organization? Okay, average tenure. So I'll go to my data set again, right? Click on it. And then I'll click on what? New measure. One more time to create the other second calculation that we want to create, or to create the second measure that we want to create. And here I'll just simply say average AVG short tenure equal to calculate, to count number of employees, we used count. To find the average tenure, we use what? Average. So I'm going to type in average. And of course, the moment I type in average, you'd see the average function appear. the DAX function. And I'm simply just going to click on that. And what do I want to average? I want to average the tenure. So I'll scroll down until I see tenure. Give me the average tenure from the data set table. So I click on that and then I close my brackets. Very straightforward, nothing complex, nothing out of the ordinary. Average tenure equals average, open bracket, tenure, close the bracket and hit enter. Okay, now the next calculation, we only have 4 calculations. We've created 2, average tenure, total employees. The third one is what? The average performance score. The average performance score. That's the next one. The same process, the same method. I go back to my data, right click on it, click on new measure. Okay, click on new measure. And I want to create the third one, which is what? Average, AVG. And I'm just using AVG so that it's not too long. Average performance. Average performance score. Average performance score equal to, if you want to find the average performance of something, what function do you think we should use? Average. So I type AVE. The moment you start typing the function, you'd see it appear as a drop-down, and I'll select average. What do I want to average? I want to average performance. So I'm going to scroll down and look for my performance score, which is this. Okay, I want to calculate the average performance score. So I'm going to click on performance score and then I close my brackets. Straightforward. That's all I need to do. And this is how you create measures in Power BI by writing DAX. What I've written here is called a DAX expression, a data analysis expression. That's what I've done. Average performance score equal to what? Average of the performance score colon from the data set table. That's all I've done. Hit enter and that creates it for me. Now, the last calculation I'm going to write, or the last measure I'm going to create, and then I'll take maybe 1 or 2 questions before we move on, is the average employee satisfaction score. Or we can call it the average satisfaction score. Okay, the average satisfaction score. So the average employee satisfaction score, that's what we want to create. So I go back to my data again, right click on it, click on new measure, same process. And then I type in average, AVG, average satisfaction. So let's not type in satisfaction score. Average satisfaction score equal to the average. Okay, I want to use average again. Average of what? Employee satisfaction score. Okay, so average of employee satisfaction score. That's what I want to calculate. Close the bracket and then hit enter. And these are all the calculations we're going to do today. Nothing more. In creating our reports, the 4 calculations I need based on the question. Remember, the question asked us to do this. And the question we had, or we have on the slide, wants us to do what? Calculate how many employees, what is the average tenure, the average performance score, and the average employee satisfaction score. Those 4 numbers, which are the numbers we're going to have here. The numbers would have here are the calculations we just created now. Okay? We are going to use a visual. The visual you can see on my screen. We'll use that visual in Power BI to bring out the numbers from those measures we created. Okay, I'm going to take a pause and let's take 1 or 2 questions. Good. Somebody's asking, will your employer ask questions like this? Very good question. And I always love, answering this type of question. The answer is yes and no. Okay. Now, when you have a project or you have an analysis that you want to do, you do 2 things. The first one is, remember, you are a data analyst. So they expect that you have analytical thinking. And an analytical, nobody is giving birth to with analytical thinking. It's not a gene, or it is not part of your DNA. All right. How do you think analytically? You learn it in problem solving. Okay, so that's the first one. They depend on your ability to think analytically. That's the first part. The second part is you need to have questions. So you're going to sit down with your head of department. You're going to sit down with the key stakeholders that you think this particular report will be presented to. Hello, ma'am, can I have a 5 minutes conversation with you? I want to work on our talent sourcing strategy. And I want to find out from you, what are the key areas you think if we have information in, we can optimize our talent strategy? And then they start to tell you, oh, over the years, we found out that we're not really sure where we get the best employees. So you write it in your notes. Where do we get the best employees? Okay, so you have those interactions, you have those meetings, and that's where you start to get ideas. And you write your notes in addition to your ability as an analyst to analyze, think of problem statements, come up with those statements, and also start to build your analysis. So that's how you come up with the questions. You won't have all the questions given to you all the time. Okay, it comes from your own experience, it comes from research, it comes from having meetings and sit downs with the key stakeholders to understand what they want to see. And ChatGPT also helps you do an amazing work, because I want to optimize my talent recruitment strategy. ChatGPT, this is the header of my data set. Give me 10 insights I can generate. If you haven't watched any of our ChatGPT sessions, go on YouTube, search for 10 Analytics, subscribe to 10 Analytics. It's for free on YouTube. You'd see some of the things we've done. Just like we're having this session today, you'd see what we've done in different other areas using ChatGPT to extract insights. Okay. Good. I can see some questions coming up as well, which are very interesting, because these are things that you'd get to learn in the main class itself, not in a 2-hour class or 2.5-hour class. Okay, so you don't generate the data for the person asking. Data is generated from different sources across the business, and that data is then moved into a database or a data warehouse by the data engineer. Then you, as the analyst, would get your data from that data warehouse or database, as the case might be, and do your analysis from there. Okay. All right, so let's continue. Now we've created all the calculations we need. It is time for us to bring out our architectural wherewithal. Okay, remember I said you have to be an artist, you have to be a designer, you have to know how to create things that are visually appealing. Your reports must be something that they would see and be like, wow, this is good. It is not distracting, straight to the point, and everybody can easily understand what you've done. I call it creating your Power BI mockup. Okay, your Power BI mockup, which is simply equivalent to you creating the architectural foundation of your building. You want to build a house. Before you start putting up the structure, you have to create the foundation. Where am I going to put the living room? Where will I have the visitors, bathroom and toilet? Where will I have the entrance? What is going to be here, and so on and so forth. So you put those placeholders, and that's when you know where to erect certain type of structure. So that's what we want to do now. We want to start building, okay? Start what? Create our architectural design before we build. So one of the first things I want to do, I'm going to make use of shapes. All right, I'll make use of what? Shapes. So I'll go to the Insert tab on my Power BI. You'd see Home, Insert, Modeling, View. I'll click on Insert. And at the right-hand side, you'd see Shapes. I'm going to click on Drop Down where I have Shapes, and then I'll click on the rounded rectangle. Rounded rectangle. You have different shapes you can try. And at your own, when you're building yours, please feel free to use different shapes, but I'll click on rounded rectangle, And then you'd see the rounded rectangle, okay? I'm going to adjust it, all right? And I'll drag it all the way to the right-hand side. Let's collapse these filters because I don't need the filters. So I'll collapse it so I have more space, okay? So this is what my shape looks like, all right? Now, always remember something very important. Data visualization is a science and it is also an art. Don't ever forget. So you have to be very finicky about the type of colors you use, how your shapes are proportional to each other, and so on. There are several concepts you take into consideration when building this, okay? So I want to make my angles a little bit more rounded, all right? So I make sure I click on the shape and do a little bit of formatting, okay? So I click on the shape and at the right-hand side, you'd see format, okay? Format. I'm going to go to shape under format. I'll open up the drop down and you see the rounded corners, 25%. So I want it to be more rounded. So I would increase it from 25% to, let's say, 35. And nothing is set in stone here. You can decide to increase it to whatever you want. If I increase it to the very end to 50%, you can see the angles are very rounded. It's like a semicircle, but I don't like how rounded it is. So I want it something around 35%. So I'll just slide it to the left to 35%. And I think that's fine enough. Okay. One other thing I want to do is I want to change the color. I don't like the color of this blue. I want a lighter blue color, okay? So to change the color, I'll go to Style, still under Format, I'll go to Style. Once I click on Style to open it up, I'll see the color. Click on Color. You see all the color palette you can use, and I'll click on this very light blue color, okay? Light blue. So you can see the light blue color. It changed the color from the dark blue to a lighter shade of blue. Now, the last thing I want to take out from here is the outline. If you look at the outline carefully, you'd see that it has a slightly darker blue on the outline. I want to take out the outline completely, or the border around the shape. So I don't want any border. Why am I doing this? I'm doing it because I want my visuals, I want my reports to look good, visually appealing. That's all. That's the reason why I'm doing all these different changes. Light blue, remove the border. You don't have to remove it when you're doing this, but to make your report look good and visually appealing, you have to have a keen eye for detail to ensure that when you send this to anybody or when you present it, it's easy for them to understand what you've done without distractions. So I'm going to take out the border as well. If you look at border is currently turned on, you can see the slider, it is on. I'll click on it to turn it off. Okay, and once I do that, I have my very first shape at the top. So that shape at the top, I'm going to put my title, the title of the report I'm creating. Okay, I'm going to put my title in there. So I've created my very first placeholder. Remember, we are architects right now, creating our design before we start to build, okay? Now, remember those numbers we created, those measures or calculations we created, total number of employees, average tenure, average performance, average employee satisfaction. I want them to be in different boxes right below this shape. Okay, so 4 different boxes. So I'm going to create those 4 boxes where I'll put the numbers. But because I don't want to always create new shapes all the time from scratch, I'll simply click on this very first shape that I have here, and then I'll duplicate it by copying and pasting. So I click on the shape, Ctrl+C to copy, Ctrl+V to paste. Some people would ask, can I do a Ctrl+D to duplicate? No, it doesn't work. So you do a Ctrl+C and a Ctrl+V. So I click on the shape and I press Ctrl+C to copy and then Ctrl+V to paste. It gives me a duplicate. I drag the duplicate down and I reduce the size. Okay, remember, I want to create 4 different shapes. I want to create 4 different shapes that would have those numbers in them. Okay, so this is the very first one. So I'm just going to drag it up a bit. But I want it to be a different color so it doesn't blend into that first shape I created. So I need to change the color of this small box. Okay, I need to change the color of the small box. Let me increase the size down a bit. So I click on that small shape. I'll go to format at the right-hand side. I'll click on what? Style, so I can change the color. And I'll click on color. And then I would use this dark blue color. So now you can see the dark blue color. And what we are trying to create is coming together slow and steady. All right. So this is the very first shape I'm going to create, but I want to add a little bit more. Let me call it flavor. Okay. So I want to add some glow to my shape, to that box, so that it glows and gives it some kind of feel of complexity, even though it's very simple. Okay. So while still clicked on this shape, right at the right-hand side under style, I want to add a shadow. So shadow is off. I'm going to turn it on by clicking on that. All right. And then glow is also off. I want to give it some glow. I turn on glow. And the moment you turn on glow, you'd see this glow behind the shape, which kind of gives it this, aura of complexity of what you're trying to create, even though it's a simple shape you have just added. All right. So we're going to leave it at that. Let's increase it down a little bit. So that's the very first box. That's the first box that would have my total employees. The other 4 boxes, I'm simply just going to do what? Duplicate. I'm simply just going to duplicate. So I need to have 4 boxes. So that's the first one. And I'll duplicate by doing a Control-C and a Control-V. Copy and paste. Copy and paste. Let me increase the size a bit. So I'm going to copy Control-C and Control-V to paste. I'll drag it to the right-hand side. Okay. Do a Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste, drag it to the right-hand side. All right. And the last, Control-C and Control-V and drag it to the right-hand side. Okay, so I have my 4 boxes at the top. Now, if you remember what I showed you on my slide, you saw it with the numbers and everything, and you were wondering, how did we start? This is how you start, by first of all creating those placeholders. I'm going to put my number here, put this number there, put this one here, and so on. And you have something interesting. Okay. Now, if you look at this, it's not properly aligned. You have more space at the right. And that's why nothing is set in stone. You can always iterate as much as you want to until you have something perfect. All right. So for me to have everything aligned, I'm only going to drag this last one to the right-hand side to where I want it to be, somewhere around here. Okay. And then I'll select all the other ones. So I can select the 4 different shapes. To select all the shapes together, all I need to do is after clicking on one, I hold down the Control key on my keyboard and I click on the second one. Still holding down the Control key, click on the 3rd one, click on the 4th one. So I select everything. And at the top, I click on Format. I click on Format, okay? And I want to align. But how do I want to align? I want to distribute horizontally. So align them horizontally so that they each have similar spacing in between. So I click on Distribute horizontally. And the moment I click on that, you can see now that all the spaces in between the boxes I have on top are all similar. All right. So slow and steady, we are creating our report. We are creating our report. Okay, now let's create the other shapes that we need. We're going to put the numbers here, and then we'd have a shape to show the trend. Let me take you back to the slide one last time before we continue. Okay, so that you have an idea of what we are doing here. So now we have 5 more shapes to create. Very quickly, we're going to create this shape. 1, create this one, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have all these shapes. We've created this one, all the ones we have at the top, we've just created them now. So we'd create the other ones we have at the bottom, 5 of them. So let's go back to create them very quickly. And then we put all the charts and all the numbers that we need to put. And you see how amazing the report would look at the end of the day. Remember, we don't want to start from scratch. So I'm just going to click on one of the shapes I have here and copy and paste. Control-C, Control-V, and I drag it down. Okay, Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste, and drag it down. Okay, I'm going to increase the size to something like this. Increase it down. But you can see that the angles are too rounded and it looks very tacky. So you always have to be very aware of your different shapes, what you want to put inside, how it should look. Like I said, it's an art and it's also a science. So you have to be very particular about the artistic part of it as well. Okay, so we're going to reduce the roundness of this shape by clicking on it, going to Style, open up Style, or I beg your pardon, open up Shape. Okay, open up Shape and reduce the roundness. It's currently on 35%. So I'm going to reduce it to, let's say 15%, so that it is not too rounded anymore. Let's leave it on 10%, I think. 10% looks okay. So you can see that it still has that roundness, but not too rounded anymore. Okay. The last thing we're going to do is we want to change the color of this box to be white. Rather than having it as blue, we're going to change it to white. So I'll go to Style, where I have my color. It's currently on blue. I'll click on this and I'll change it to what? White. And that's what I have. So you can see that because we added the shadow and glow at the beginning, you can see that blue glow at the behind it. That makes it look more visually appealing. Okay, so this is the very first box, the one that would have our trend from 2018 to 2023. Then I'll copy it and paste. Control-C, click on it, copy, Control-C, Control-V to paste. So I have the next box at the right-hand side. I'm just going to reduce this a little bit. Okay. And then I have 3 more boxes below. So I have 1, 2, we have 3 more boxes below. I'm just going to copy what I have at the top. Click on it, copy, Control-C, paste, Control-V. All right. You don't have to reinvent all the time. Okay. So I'm just going to do this. Okay, let's increase the sizes a bit like that. All right, so I want 3 boxes below. So what I'll do is let's reduce the size to something here. And hopefully this side will take 2 of these boxes, but if not, we resize it again. All right, like I always say, nothing is set in stone. Okay, so I'll copy, Control-C, Control-V, drag it to the right. Control-C, Control-V. So you can see that it really can't take the 3 shapes. I need to reduce the size. So I'll delete the boxes. Click on it and press the delete key on your keyboard to delete. Click on the second shape, press delete to delete. And then I'm going to reduce the size a bit. So I think something like this now should be fine. All right. So you click on that and you can then duplicate. So you keep on reducing, resizing until you get something that looks perfect. So I'll copy, Control-C, paste, Control-V. All right, drag it to the right. Control-C, Control-V, drag it to the right. So now you can see that you have something better you have the 3 boxes below, and then you have the other 2 above, and then you have the 4 boxes where you put your numbers. Okay, so now it is time for us to start building. We've created our design, the architectural design. It's time for us to start building. And what are the building elements? The building elements are our charts, those numbers, those visuals that would show us what we want to see. That would be the building elements. And immediately we create that, I want 2 people to tell us what you think our talent strategy should look like based on what you can see. Okay? So the very first thing I want to put here would be the number, total employees. And I'm going to do that using a visual called the card visual. Card, C-A-R-D, card. Okay, before I click on any visual, make sure you click on a blank space on your report. Click on a blank space so that you're not clicked on any shape. Don't click on any shape. Click on a blank space. Then go to where you have visualizations and select what? Card. So I'm going to click on card. And the moment you click on a visual, it's going to appear blank on your report. You can see mine, it is blank. I'll take it to that very first box where I want to put my total employees, and I'll reduce the size so that it fits into the box. Reduce the size so it fits into the box. Reduce the size so it fits into the box. So once you have that, you know what you want to put in that card. You want your total number of employees to show. Okay, so while I'm clicked on this card, I go to the right-hand side. And remember, you have calculated your total number of employees. Don't forget, that was the first thing we calculated, total employees. I'm simply going to go there to the right, and I'll click on the tick box to select it. And the moment I do that, you see the number 1001. 1001, total number of employees. There are little adjustments. We'll make some little adjustments. Okay, we're going to make some little adjustments to this so that we have the numbers showing a lot better. Because you can see 1001, but you can't see anything below. You can see there's total employees below, but it's not very clear. And that's because the box we have here is not large enough to take in the shape, to show us the exact number we have or the exact text we have below. So 2 things we can do. We can increase the size or we can reduce the font size. I'm going to reduce the font size instead. So I'll click still on the card visual, click on it. Okay. And at the right-hand side under visualizations, you'll see this icon that says format your visual. So if you want to make changes, you want to reduce the font, you want to change the font color, you want to remove the background, you do that using the format your visual. So you see this icon that says format your visual. I'll click on it. Okay. And then under visual, you have call out value. I'll click on the drop down for call out value. All right. And you can see the font size is 45. So I'm going to reduce the font size to 40. Let's reduce it to 40 or 35. Let's reduce it to 35. Better. And you can see, now you can see the total employees showing. Okay. So we reduced it to 45. So like I said, you can either reduce the font size or increase the card to display. So total employees, 1001. Okay, clearly we can see that. Now, let me ask a question. You have a blue, dark blue colored shape, and then you have a box on top of the shape. Does it look nice? Yes or no? Does it look visually appealing? Does it look good? No. Zainab says no, absolutely. It doesn't look good at all. Okay, so you see that white background that we have on top of the dark colored shape. I'm going to take it out. All right, so I'm going to click on that card again where I have my total employees. I'll click on it. All right. I'll go to format, click on format your visual because I want to remove the background, the white background. Click on format your visual, go to my callout value, click on the drop down. And where you have color, it is, I beg your pardon, this is not where I'm going to take out the background. Before I change the color of the font, I want to take out the background, right? That's under general. So instead of clicking on visual, I click on what? General. And then I go to effects. Click on the drop down under effects. And where you have background, it is on. You can see the slider. It says on. I click on it to turn it off. So the white background disappears. So now that I've turned off the background, I have a dark blue color and a black colored font. So you have colors that are they are closely contrasted. So you can't see the black popping out very well. So I want to change it to white. Okay, so I need to change the font color to white. So I go back from general, I click on visual. Okay, and I change from color, the black color, to what? White. So the color changes to white. So now it is clear. I can see it a little bit more clearly. Now my total employees is very hidden because the color is what? Gray. It's a gray color, so it's not very clear. And my total employees is what? The category label. So I click on the drop down where you have the category label and change the color from gray to what? White. So now I have total employees 1,001. Clear and simple. So now, compared to what I had at the beginning, I have something that looks a lot better. I have something that looks a lot better. Do you agree? If you agree that it looks a lot better, just type in yes into the chat. Fantastic. We are 85% done because every other thing we have left, we are getting that done in the next 15 minutes. The hard work is what we've done so far, okay? Every other thing is just click on this, click on that, click on this, click on that, and you get it done. So all the other numbers we need to put at the right-hand side, average tenure, average performance, average employee satisfaction. I would leverage what I have here already. I'm not going to create anything from scratch. I'll click on this very first one, copy and paste, Control C, Control V. Drag it to the right-hand side. Okay, and once I drag it, I go to the right and I'll deselect. So now I have a duplicate of total employees, but what I want there is average tenure. So I'll deselect total employees. It takes it out completely. And then I'll go to average tenure and click on average tenure to select. And it shows me that my average tenure is what? 2.66 years. The next one I want to show is my average performance score. The same process, copy and paste. So I copy this, Control C, paste, Control V, create a duplicate, drag it to the right-hand side. I now have a duplicate of average tenure. I deselect average tenure and I select what? Average performance score. 6.99 out of 10. Now I want to see the average employee satisfaction. So I copy again, Control C, Control V, drag it to the right-hand side. I have a duplicate. I deselect average performance score from that last one, and I select what? Average satisfaction score, 7.50. So you see the numbers at the top, and it's coming together step by step. And trust me, like I said at the beginning, everybody on this call can create what I've done. I've not done anything out of this world. Nothing out of this world, to be very honest. Everybody can do this. Once you receive the recording, I implore you, download the data set, install Power BI on your computer, and try this out. Now, let's quickly put in the other charts that we have. Okay, so let's put in the trend. We want to show from 2018 to 2023. And I'm going to use a line chart, a line that shows, oh, it increased and it decreased, it increased, it decreased. At the right-hand side under visualization, before you click on any visualization, what did I say? Click on a blank space. So you're not clicked on anything before you click on visualization. So I'm going to click on line. Okay, line charts. And of course, you'd see it appear blank. Okay, I'll resize it. Always resize to fit in your boxes. Now we are building. You can't build outside what the foundation they have created. Okay, you have to build on top of the foundation. So ensure that your charts don't go beyond your foundation. All right. So I'm going to put in two things here: the year and the average performance. The year and the average performance. Okay. So how do I select my year? Now remember, we have date of hire. Date of hire. So you can see that. I'm going to click on the drop down for date of hire. Now, because Power BI is smart and Power BI knows that date has hierarchy. The date has the year, the month, and the day. So Power BI knows this. So once it sees a date, it creates a date hierarchy. Year, month, day. You could even have quarter and so on and so forth. Okay. So once I click on the drop down where I have the date of hire, you can see the date hierarchy. I'm going to click on the drop down under the date hierarchy, and you can see the year, the quarter, the month, and the day. What we want is the what? The year. So I'm going to select year. That's the first thing I select. The second thing I'll select is the what? Average, the total employees, rather. We want to see the number of employees per year. Number of employees hired per year. So I've selected year under my dates. I'll now go to my where? Total employees, and click on that. Okay, so now you can see the line. You can see the line. 2018, you had the lowest number of employees hired. It increased in 2019. 2020, during COVID, it increased in 2021. So many organizations, especially within the tech ecosystem, it hired a lot in 2021. It started to drop in 2022 and dropped again in 2023. So that's the line chart for your total employees by year. That's the trend, answering question number 2. Okay, we'll come back to make it look nice, because remember, like I said at the beginning, data visualization is both a science and an art. So, but let's move on to the next one. I'll come back here to adjust, okay, and make it look good. But let's add all the other charts first. The next one we want to add is the source of hire. Remember the question, the source of hire that produces the best performing employees. So where are our best performing employees coming from? Are they from LinkedIn? Are they from the websites? Are they from recruitment agencies? Are they from job boards and so on? So click on the blank space before you click on any chart. Click on a blank space and let's use a clustered bar chart for this one. Clustered bar chart. So I click on clustered bar. Again, it's going to appear blank. Okay. So I'm going to take it into the box. I want it to be here. I'll resize it, reshape to fit into the box. Okay, just something like that. But what do I want here? I want to see the source of hire and average performance. So what's the performance of the employees that come from different platforms? Okay, so I simply go to my source of hire at the right-hand side. I select, and then I click on my average performance that we calculated. Remember, we calculated that average performance. Click on it, and you can see, okay. Tell me in the chart, where do we have the best performing employees? Where do they come from? From which platform? Just type it. If you can see, just type it in the chat. They come from LinkedIn. Absolutely. Sherifat says LinkedIn. Sharif. Apia says LinkedIn. Chibuzo, Mutiat, Taslim, Jones. Absolutely. You're all absolutely correct. LinkedIn. Okay, we can see that LinkedIn. Okay, remember, we're still going to come back to make it look good. Let's leave it the way it is for now. Now, let's answer the second question or the third question now, which is, which source of hire has the most loyal employees? That is, we've seen the source of hire, LinkedIn, campus recruitment, employee referrals, and the performance. LinkedIn clearly shows the best performance. Now we want to know from these platforms, which of the employees stay the longest? Which of the employees are loyal? Okay, so we want to see the source of hire and the average tenure. Okay, and I'm going to use the same type of chart all through. So I'm just going to copy this. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I'm just going to click on this chart I have here, Control C, Control V, and I'm going to drag it down. Okay, I'll just drag it down here. Resize, always remember to resize. And what do we want to show? We want to show source of hire. We already have that here. But we want to see that for the average tenure, not for performance. So I'm going to deselect average performance, deselect it, and select average tenure. All right. And I want you to type again in the chat, which platform has the most loyal employees in terms of employees that stay the longest? LinkedIn. Brilliant. LinkedIn. And which platform has the least loyal? Which platform has the least loyal? Job boards. Absolutely. Job boards. Fantastic. So now we are helping the company. Remember, we are data analysts and we want to help the company take a decision on the best talent strategy to adopt. Okay. So now let's go to the fourth question, which is, or the fifth rather, the previous employer that tends to give us the best performing employees. The previous employer that tends to give us the best performing employees. So I'm just simply going to copy this chart I have here, okay? Because this shows us source of hire and performance. But now I want to see previous employer and performance. So I'm just going to copy this and change my source of hire to previous employer. So I'll copy this, Control C, Control V, drag it down here. All right, resize. Always remember to resize. And then instead of having source of hire and average performance, I'm going to deselect my source of hire. And I'll select what? Previous employer. Okay. Now, if you can see clearly what I have, which previous employer tends to give us the best performing employees? Type it in the chat. Let's know. Which previous employer? Deloitte. Deloitte gives us the best performing employees. Absolutely. All right. And let's create the very last question or answer the very last question, which is, which university or which alma mater produces the best performing employee? So I'm just going to copy the one I have here, Control C, Control V, drag it to the right. Okay. And I'll change previous employer, because here I have previous employer, right? I copied what I had at the left and put it to the right. So I'll change previous employer, deselect previous employer, and select what? Alma mater, the university they attended. So alma mater. And I have that. I know you can't see it clearly, but the first is Oxford University, University of Michigan, University of London. So type in the chat, Oxford, absolutely. Zainab didn't even wait. Zainab typed in Oxford immediately. Absolutely. Oxford gives us. So what I'm going to do now is very quickly, I'm going to make this look a little bit better in terms of looks. Okay, in terms of visual, let's make it look better, which is all about formatting. All about formatting. Always remember, data visualization is a science and it's also an art. So I'm going to click on this very first chart. And at the right-hand side, under visualization, you go to where? Format your visual. All right. So you see all those lines. I know they're not very visible, but I have lines, grid lines on the X and Y axis. I want to take them out. They make my chart look ugly. So where I have grid lines, I'll click on grid lines. They're currently on. I'll turn the horizontal off, turn the vertical off. So my line chart is what? Crisp and clean without the grid lines. Okay, distractions should be taken out completely. I also want to add markers. So markers are sort of dots you'd see across each data point. So 2019, I want to see a dot. 2020, I want to see a dot. So markers, I'll turn markers on. Click on the slider to turn it on so you can see those dots. I also want to know the numbers. In 2018, how many employees did we hire? In 2023, how many employees have we hired? So data labels are currently off. I'll turn them on. So now I can see the numbers. All right. Because I have the numbers now, I don't need this y-axis where I have total employees 0, 100, 200, 300. I don't need that anymore. So I'm going to take it out. And this is the y-axis. So I go to my y-axis here. Okay. I click on the drop down. Title is on. I'm going to turn it off. And I'll turn off the y-axis completely. Good. So now it looks neat. I'm not going to do anything else because of time. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Okay, it looks better. But let me change the line to a lighter blue color. So I'll click on the line. Okay, I'll click on line. I'll go to colors on that line. And then I'll change it from this blue to a lighter blue. The very first light blue I used at the top. Because remember, you are careful about your colors and how it looks to your audience. So I'll click on that light blue. Okay, I'll click on this second chart. I want to change the colors to the light blue as well. So I'll go to bars. I'll click on bars. And the default color is the dark blue. I'll click on that and use the light blue. Okay, I also want to add my what? Data labels. So you can see the numbers. What's the average performance? You want to see that there. So data labels is, you have it off. I'll turn it on. So now you can see the numbers. Okay. Whenever you have the numbers here, at the bottom, you also have 0, 5, 10. It becomes redundant. So whenever you have any redundant information, redundant elements on your dashboard, please take it out. It is called less is more. The lesser the elements you have on your charts, the better it is to your audience. The concept of less is more. Less is more. So the x-axis over here that has 0, 5, 10, I'm going to take it out because it's not relevant. All right. So I'll click on the x-axis, take out the title by turning it off, and then I'll turn off the x-axis completely. So this is neater. I'll do the same for all the other charts. Click on that. X-axis, turn off the title, turn off the x-axis. Okay, and I'll make the color light blue. So where you have the bars for the color, change it from the dark blue to the light blue. Okay, and I'll do the same for this, the same, because they're the same type of charts. Click on that, change the color to light blue. The x-axis, take out the title, turn off the title, then turn off the x-axis completely. And I'll do that for this, the last one. I'll take out the title, take out the x-axis, and then I would also change the color to light blue. And I want one person who is confident. And let's add the data labels. I forgot to do that. Let's add data labels. Add data label here too. Click on this, click on data label to turn it on. Click on this, click on data label to turn it on. I want somebody who is confident to look at what we've created and tell us, based on your findings and what you have created, what will be your recommendation or your recommendations to the company? your recommendations to the company. The title is not there. Leslie, thank you very much. Let's add the title, but start to think about it. And if you want to speak, I want at least 2 people. Raise your hand and I'll call you up to speak. So let's add the title very quickly. I'll go to insert. I'll add a text box. Click on insert, add a text box, and I'll type in my title here in the text box. Talent sourcing analysis. Talent sourcing analysis. That's my title. Make it bold. I'll increase the font size to 20. Let's make it 25 or 24. Change the color to what now? Let's change the color to dark blue. Okay. So I'll just increase this, resize, and I'll drag it from the edge. When you're dragging, drag it from the edge to the top. Okay, talent sourcing analysis. I'll drop it here, and I'll take out that white background so that it blends. So I'll go to my formats, under effects, click on effects, background, turn it off. So that's my title, talent sourcing analysis. So let me call upon Ife Anadu. Ife Anadu, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Give us the recommendations from these reports, the different elements you've created from these visuals. Give us the recommendation you think the organization needs to take to have an optimal talent strategy. Go ahead, please.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so I'll tell them to go to LinkedIn, hire someone. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So I'll tell them to go to LinkedIn, hire someone who has who finished from Oxford University and has worked in Deloitte.
Fantastic. Brilliant. I think that's the best summary ever. Best summary ever. I'm going to give you, because of the way Ife Anadu answered that question, I'm so highly impressed. I'm going to give you an extra. Okay. And what's the extra? In 1 second. If we get our best talents from LinkedIn, which position ranks the highest? Remember, we hired different positions. So which position ranks the highest? So what I'm going to do is use one bird to kill 2 stones. So I have this chart I've created already, but I want to be able to drill down to go into LinkedIn and find out which positions ranks the highest. And all I need to do is click on this chart. Okay. You see where you have your y-axis and you have source of hire. Take note of it. Okay. Go to position/role. Click and drag it and drop it under source of hire. That's all you need to do. Just drop it under source of hire. When you do this, you'd see some arrows above your chart. Okay, you see this arrow, one line with 2 arrows, stemming off from the line. You have 2 separate arrows, one arrow pointing downwards, one arrow pointing upwards. I'll click on the arrow pointing downwards, called what? Drill down. I'll click on it. Drill down. And then I'll come and click on LinkedIn. And when I do that, it would filter into LinkedIn and tell me the role that ranks the highest from LinkedIn. If you are still there, tell us the role. Since you've said hire from LinkedIn, ensure that the person graduated from Oxford and is from Deloitte, but for which particular roles based on what you can see from the drill down. Okay, I'm not sure I can see Ife Anadu anymore. Let me ask Zainab. Zainab, if you want to go, tell us.
Right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for the great presentation. So for me, looking at the data, I'll recommend when they're focusing on positions like project managers, you should go to do that adverts there to hire from that area. Fantastic.
Positions for project managers, because you can see 8.3. Marketing manager also has 8.1, 8.1, 8.1 for QA engineer, but Project manager ranks the highest. Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Zainab and Ifianadu. Yeah, absolutely fantastic professionals contributing to what we've done. So if I want to go back to LinkedIn, I'll just click on drill up, the up arrow, click on that, and it takes me back to where I was. So now I can drill into each separate source of hire because I have kept in my position / role underneath that. So it creates a drill down for me. And these are the things you start to learn. So if I even want to find out without drilling down, okay, so let me just click on, so let's find, I want to see what happened in the year 2021 when we had the highest number. I'll click on that and it filters my entire report for me. You can see it filters. 251 were hired, average tenure 2.4, performance 6.9, satisfaction 7.5. Most of the employees came from LinkedIn, and then you had recruitment agencies. Okay. And of course, it filters for you. If I click again, it goes back to what it was before. All right. If I remove this drill, I don't want to drill down anymore, but I want to click on LinkedIn and see what happens, how it affects all the other charts. So I click on LinkedIn and you can see LinkedIn, 168 employees came through LinkedIn, average tenure 3.7, performance 7.8, average satisfaction 7.4. You can see the highest came from the year 2020. And in 2023, we've only hired one person from LinkedIn. So there's something we are not doing right. Why only one person from LinkedIn in 2023? So these are the type of things you'd present to your stakeholders during your review meetings, your performance review, to help them optimize their strategy and what they have to do. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at this for now. I'll click back on LinkedIn and it takes us back. Okay, so you've seen how we created this from scratch, right from when we got our data to creating our mock-up and all the placeholders to eventually creating something interesting. The beauty of doing something like this during interviews, when you're asked questions around, tell me about a time you have used data to solve a problem or use Power BI to solve a problem. Guess what? All these projects you have worked on in class, this is just something very, I would say, simple that we've just done. Of course, you do a little bit more, diving a little bit deeper into your analysis to find out certain trends, certain key insights on why certain things happened. Okay, and you'd say this in a way that would be so compelling to that recruiter that they would know that you have depth in the understanding of how to use Power BI. Okay, so I'm going to stop here at this point in time. We'll go back to our slide, and I'm just going to, I'll skip, a number of slides that I have so that we can wrap up in the next few minutes. All right, so what I'll do is tell you why data analysts are important and what data analysts actually do. You see what we've done today, right? Taking this data and converting it to this report is the role of a data analyst. Your role, you are responsible for helping organizations answer questions. You are responsible for helping organizations solve problems through data, analyzing the data, interpreting the insights, and extracting those insights for data-driven decisions. Data-driven what? Decisions. And the insights must be actionable insights, just like Zainab said, and Ife also mentioned. LinkedIn is the place to go. Project manager roles are the roles that ranks the highest that we need to hire from. In 2023, we saw that we've only hired one person from LinkedIn. Something is not right. This is the strategy we need to adopt. You're not saying this from your own belief and gut feeling. I think we get the best people from our websites or from job boards or from the recruitment agencies. But what does the data actually say? It says that It says something totally different. So that's the role of the data analyst. And as a data analyst, your role cuts across two major areas in terms of scope. The first one is what happened. You must always ask that question. All right. So you see the charts we created, the dashboard we created, and the visual for the trend. That was what happened from 2018 to 2023. What happened in terms of the number of employees and the performance based on different source of hire. And that's called descriptive analytics. Answering the question, what happened? Now, going a little bit deeper, like I said, which you'd go in your class. This is just, I would say, an introduction to Power BI, an intro to Power BI. Answering the question, why something happened. So you know what has happened. Oh, this one increased. It decreased the following quarter. It increased again the next quarter. Somebody would ask the question, why did we have this decrease or that decline? In answering the question, why something happened, you want to tie your data to trends. You want to tie your data to events that took place around the same time, find patterns to answer why something happened. When you do that, you are solving what? Diagnostic analytics, or you are moving into the realm of diagnostic analytics. So as a data analyst, two key areas, descriptive and diagnostic. And you work largely with structured data. So you see the data we worked with today, data that is shaped in the form of rows and columns. That's called structured data. And that's the type of data you work with as a data analyst. And for the technologies, first thing you're going to learn is problem solving, number one. Number two is Excel. And I'll break this down a bit. Number three is Power BI. 4 is Tableau. 5 is SQL. 6 is Fabric. And 7 is ChatGPT for data analytics. Your very first role as a data analyst is to solve problems. So when somebody asked me the question the other time, will you always be given the question to answer when you have a data to analyze? And I said yes and no. Yes, because you can get those questions by asking the right type of questions. And no, because the people you are going to ask at some instance may not even have an idea on what should be done. And that's where you as a data analyst needs to then know how to define problem statements. You need to know how to break problems into different parts, multiple parts. Looking at the data that I have, what are the type of insights I can generate? How do I leverage different techniques like the McKinsey-Macy model, the prioritization matrix, what is important, what is not important? How do I get to the root cause of the problem using the 5 why techniques? Analytical thinking can be learned from problem solving. So that's the very first skill you need to learn as a data analyst. Then you move to Excel. Yesterday we looked a little bit, did a little bit using Excel, but Excel is that foundation. Excel is that tool that gives you that introduction, that entry into the analytics space. And that's very, very important. Ruby has also created that one. Fantastic, Ruby. I owe you a chilled bottle of Coke. A chilled bottle of Coke. Fantastic, Ruby. So now, once you know how to use Excel, you can create dashboards, do amazing stuff using Excel. You then move into SQL. Every data analyst must know how to use SQL. Data would not always be given to you in Excel. Data would be in a database. How do you interact with that database? Extract your data, connect your Power BI to the database. How do you do that? You need to know how to interact with databases. SQL is structured query language. That's the language for databases. And then you learn Power BI. So you see what we've done with Power BI today. That's just, I would say, a fraction of what you would learn using Power BI. A fraction of a fraction. Power BI is a fantastic BI tool to help you visualize your data, analyze the data, automate the reporting of your reports and your different dashboards that you're going to create. Okay. and then Tableau. Remember, Power BI and Tableau can do pretty much similar things and the same thing. However, the beauty of learning the two is for organizations that have a preference for Tableau, you don't lose out. You can still apply to those jobs because you have the skill. And for organizations that have a preference for Power BI, you still have the skill and you can still apply to those jobs. You need to then have skills in data storytelling. Very, very important. All the analysis you've done, it's time to present. How do you present your story? How do you sell the story? Because now what we've done here is just for the purpose of learning. But you'll be doing this for organizations that will take your insights, implement those insights to drive growth, to optimize revenue, to reduce losses, to get new business. So you convincing, telling your story in a compelling way that would allow the key stakeholders that needs to make the decisions, take those decisions, comes through data storytelling. Taking away all the jargons and using very simple words and simple terms to explain what you have found. And of course, like I always mention, ChatGPT for data analytics is one of the things that I would say today as a data analyst, if you don't know how to use ChatGPT to make your work efficient, trust me, you have a lot to do because your peers who have that skill would do. You see what I created using Power BI? You can do that with ChatGPT in less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. What's 10 minutes? Less than 5 minutes. And the interesting thing is ChatGPT will do it for you. You don't have to do it yourself. It will do it for you. Okay? And of course, not the free version of ChatGPT, obviously, the paid version. But then you start to see the you start to see the advantage of having the understanding, getting into the tech space as a data analyst and leveraging large language model tools, generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Bard, and so on and so forth to help you become more efficient and get things done faster. All right? Microsoft Fabric for analytics. Fabric is an all-in-one platform that has different Fabric items that enables you to carry out your analysis in the same environment. So in the Fabric environment, you can create a lake, a data lake. You can create a data warehouse. You can write your Python codes. You can create your Power BI reports, and it's all in the cloud. So the advantage of you learning Microsoft Fabric is organizations are transitioning to Fabric because they want to have things in a single platform. So your understanding of Power BI, SQL, Excel, Tableau, all of those things would now be brought into one single environment. You having the skill puts you at an advantage over every other person trying to apply for the same role that you're applying to. And of course, how long does it take you to become a data analyst? 4 solid months of project-based learning, 3 months project-based classes, and 1 month internship. On the average in the UK as a data analyst, you earn about £40,000. In Canada, about 64,000 Canadian dollars. And in the US, about 72,000 US dollars. And how do you learn with us? Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., depending on where you are. If you're in the UK, you are in Nigeria, you are in Ghana, somewhere around the same time zone, your class happens 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you are in the US, you are in Canada, North America region, similar time zone as well, you have your class 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay? And that's because 4 p.m. West Africa time is around 11 a.m. Eastern time. So you have the perfect time for you to start your class rather than having classes at very odd hours. And that's for Saturday classes. On Sunday, you don't have a live class. You have something we call the Watch Me Do It video. These are bite-sized videos where you get to learn key concepts. You don't need the presence of anybody to learn those concepts. And then on a Saturday when you have your live class, those things you have seen in the video, you put them into practice solving a project. All right. So like I said, I'm going to skip a few slides just to ensure that we move a bit faster, but I'll make the slides available to you 100%. Now, top reasons why people struggle to get jobs, especially as data analysts. And I've seen this happen so many times. And there's this thing I hear I hear this so many times that I keep on telling people that today as a data analyst, there's no better time to get into the data analytics role because of the increase in demand. I got into data analytics about 10 years ago, and the demand is even a lot more than 10 years ago, simply because of the number of data, the amount of data we generate on a day-to-day basis. Organizations need people that can help them extract insight from that data. You have the opportunity to present to key stakeholders. You find yourself in meetings with the directors, the owners of the company. Everybody wants to listen to you because you always have something to say. And I always tell people this, and I'm always very proud about it. Very early in my career, I think about in the year 2017, I had the opportunity to present to the vice president on my findings on one of the largest integrated oil and gas companies in Nigeria. I did an analysis working with my organization then. My organization was a consultant on a project. I worked on a particular analysis, came up with my recommendations, my reports, and I was requested to present that report to the vice president, Yemi Osibajo, former Nigerian vice president. And that was where I saw the beauty and the power of data. Everybody wants to hear you out. And that was me very young and early in my career as a data analyst and so on. So people don't have the required skill. That's one of the major challenges. You have so many people that have watched videos on YouTube and they don't have that solid foundation in data analytics. And I always tell people that YouTube is the worst place you can learn as a starter, as a beginner, somebody trying to get a job. As an advanced user, as somebody who has the background covered, you can go on YouTube. But you want to get a job, YouTube is the worst place you can ever learn. Udemy as well, because you get stuck, you can't do anything afterwards. And I find these people, I've interacted with so many of them, they come to Tenalytics and say that, oh, I have the skill. All I want from you is I want to work on projects. I want to do the mentorship only. And we give them projects to work on, the projects that our participants solve at within a blink of an eye, and they struggle to do it. So what are the skills you said you have as a data analyst? You can't solve this using Excel, and you say you've learned data analytics. How? And that's the challenge we find a lot of people, because they don't have a structured learning approach. They don't know where to start and where to end. Again, no proof of work. You don't have a portfolio. You don't have something to show for what you've done, the type of projects you've worked on that shows the depth of the skills that you have. How do you know how to clean data? It's very easy to know if somebody can clean data by looking at the type of project that you have worked on and what you applied to cleaning that data using Power Query in Power BI or using Power Query in Excel. Okay. Again, you also find a lot of people without experience and interviewing skills. What is experience? Projects can give you the experience you would ever need to get a job. All right. And people don't have the interviewing skills as well. You ask them questions on, tell me about this, tell me about that, and they cannot answer. They struggle to give you answers to those type of questions. Introduce yourself. Can I get to know you? They can't answer questions like that. And that's where we come in at Tenalytics. We have an up-to-date curriculum that covers all the nitty-gritty of what you need to get into data analytics. Okay, from the background, the fundamental, every single thing from problem solving up until you get to ChatGPT for data analytics. And it's also a hands-on learning approach. Curriculum designed by industry experts, people that have built several projects working with some of the largest organizations across the globe. So you're not learning from somebody who learns on Coursera or somebody who learns on YouTube. You're learning from professionals who have worked with organizations as data analysts. You learn from their experience, and you also get to learn by doing and working on projects as well. You have a blended learning approach. So I'm just moving a bit faster so that we can wrap up in good time, okay? You have a blended learning approach where you have classes on Saturdays, and on Sundays, you have bite-sized watch me do it videos that you don't have to attend classes. You can watch those videos at your convenience. After church, if you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, when you get back from wherever you are, on Sunday, you want to relax, watch it in the morning, watch it in the evenings. Anytime you want to watch. Some people move it even to the subsequent week. Okay, so I'm not going to watch it only on Sunday. I want to ensure that I'm in touch with all the things I'm learning in class. So I'm going to learn on Monday. On Tuesday, I'll keep on watching those videos ahead of the next class. All right. And additional employability skills. This is where we have become so successful helping people to transition. Transitioning goes beyond just knowing how to use Excel. There are 1,000,001 people that know how to use Excel and Power BI and all of those tools. But how do you separate yourself from those people? You do that from here. And I'll speak about that in the next slide. And of course, you also get to work on different projects during your internship. And this gives you the exposure to solving problems in a real life work environment. And all of this gets you into becoming a master data analyst and getting a job anywhere across the globe as a data analyst. What are those sets of skills that you need to have to get a job, apart from the technical, which is just 50%? Okay, what is the other 50%? And that's the additional employability skills. Without this, trust me, if you are anywhere across the major economies, you'd struggle. You don't have a good CV. You don't have a good representation in paper format. You don't know how to tailor your CV to job requirements. The job needs you to have a particular set of skills, and you are using that same CV you've used to apply to 100 jobs, throwing out one CV, hoping that it sticks. That's a strategy that never works. So how do you tailor your CV, match your CV to job requirements? CV sessions. If you don't have a CV, we work with you to create one. If you have one, we show you how to, tailor your CV to match job requirements and job descriptions. LinkedIn optimization. For those that joined the HR Analytics Masterclass yesterday, you got to hear from Sonia. One of the things Sonia did that almost cost her a job, it actually cost her the job because she wasn't invited. She wasn't given an offer. She was told that, look, unfortunately, we're not going to go ahead with you. She did not have anywhere on her LinkedIn that says she has HR analytics experience. Okay, there was nothing on HR analytics experience. And interestingly, the day before she got the rejection, the hiring manager from the organization here in the UK had gone to her LinkedIn profile to check. So she saw that the hiring manager checked her profile, but she had no idea why. She was wondering. And then the following day, she got a rejection email. Luckily for her, she went back, used Tenalytics, which is what we always advise. Okay, use Tenalytics as, say you're a HR analytics consultant with Tenalytics. These are the things you did. You worked on this project, that project, that project. And by doing that, luckily for her, a different role became available in that same organization. And because she had already gone past the initial stages of the interview with a different hiring manager for this new role, she was invited and given an offer to take that new role that became available. And that was how Sonia got a job as a HR analyst here in the UK after completing her master's just last week. She spoke yesterday during the HR masterclass for those of you that joined. So it's very important that you have social proof on your LinkedIn, social proof, just like everybody would do today. After the masterclass, I want to know who Adeza is, Adeza Suleiman. Who is he? You go on LinkedIn, you search, you find me, you check my, track record and so on and so forth. Employers do the same. They want to know you. They want to see if you are the person you are on paper and so on. All right. So you need to have that social proof. Very, very important. Then Upwork for remote work, getting to work as a freelancer on different projects across different regions as well. And then navigating the job market. how do I apply to jobs if I'm in the US, if I'm in the UK, if I'm in Canada, if I'm in different locations? How do I apply to jobs? What are the opportunities available for me? And so on and so forth. All right. And then recommendation and references, which simply every organization would want you to be affiliated with a reputable organization to vouch for you that you've done this before, you have good character. And then interview preparation. What do you say when you get into an interview? And I've done so many interviews to the level that nothing surprises me anymore. From introduce yourself to tell me why you are the best person to be hired. Tell me why you are the best person for this role. Tell me how you have used Excel to solve a problem. As simple as these questions are, people struggle to answer. And that's simply because there is no constructive approach. And that's where we teach you different approaches you can use to answer questions constructively, especially competency-based questions, using different techniques from the SEAT approach to the STAR approach. Okay. Somebody just muted me. Joan, is anything happening? Okay, I think we're good. All right. And then, of course, you have your weekly mentorship sessions, which every week you get to have myself, the co-founder, Efemena, and we work with you week in, week out to help you navigate the space. Getting a job is a whole lot of work. Getting a job is a whole lot of work, and you need somebody to hold your hands and tell you exactly what you need to do, where you're getting it wrong, where you're getting it right, what is normal that you'd find in the space. So when you get those rejections, it's not because you're not fine. It's not because you're not handsome. It's not because you have a particular problem, not because you're black-skinned, but because that's the process. So you need that person that has been in the space to tell you what you should expect and so on and so forth. And on the job support, you get a job, you need somebody to also work with you to ensure you have a solid footing eventually. And then you get to join our internship. The internship is one of the most fantastic things you can ever join when you become a part of Data Analytics, because this is where you get to work on real life projects that would help you understand how the real life scenario would look like. So when you work in the during the internship, you get to work together in groups. A lady came to me one time and saying, oh, I want to change my group. I don't like a lady in my group because she does not contribute or she takes time to respond. And I said, look, guess what? In the real life work environment, you'd work with people like that. You'd find them in your organization. So how do you address those issues and those challenges? All right, you have your weekly meetings, you have your collaborative meetings, you get to work with different other people across different programs, from the data scientists to the HR analysts. You get to work collaborate to solve those problems during the internship. 6 real life projects for 1 month. You add that to your CV, and this gives you experience that you get to talk about during interviews. You work on fantastic projects. I'm just going to highlight them. You have the projects on the slide already. So when you receive the slide, you'd see the different projects you'd work on, from strategy optimization projects to HR related projects to identifying fraud to optimizing pricing strategy and so on and so forth. Fantastic projects that you get to work on, and also get to work with astute professionals within the space. You'd work with myself, you'd work with Efemena, you'd work with Tony, who is a senior data analyst at Data Analytics, helped over 5,000 people, working with companies across the US and Europe, solving problems for major organizations. Mohammed as well. Mohammed has worked with Alfa Romeo in the US. He's a senior data associate with Data Analytics, trained over 2,000 people. You'd get to work with Mohammed. Mohammed would also work with you during your interview. And I'll be showing you, I'm sure for those of you that have joined our previous masterclasses, Mohammed has worked with so many people that, they turned out to get the jobs eventually during their interview. He worked with them. Oladapo, who is a senior consultant at Deloitte, Bermuda. He's an Excel expert and he's going to work with you during your Excel classes. Olugbemi, who is a business data analyst. Olugbemi currently, what he does is he helps other people make the transition by teaching Power BI. That's what he does for us. Now, Olugbemi works with the business data and as a business data analyst with the Law Depot in Edmonton, Canada. Fantastic gentleman helping you transition. You'd work with SL Gena Brimer as well, who is a senior data associate with Tenalytics, and so many other professionals from Nene, who'd work with you during your problem solving class, to Obina, who is also a data scientist in Canada that would work with you as well. And the next cohort starts on the 4th of November, 2023. And that's the last cohort for the year 2023. So the last cohort for 2023, okay, starts 4th of November, 2023. And this is the best time for you to get into the program. All right. Now, before I say you should listen to any of these fantastic professionals, we have two people on the call that wants to speak with you. They've joined, one of them joined our program, got a job. We worked with him to help him get a job, and he got a job as a data analyst. He's here, he wants to share his story, how he got a job, how he was able to do it, how did he learn from Tenalytics, and what role we played in him getting the job eventually. And we have somebody else who joined in the September cohort and is currently still undergoing the program to share their experience with you. In addition to the fantastic professionals we have here, Ikmat got a job after 4 years out of work, taking care of our kid, moved to the UK, joined our data analytics program, completed the job, completed the training, completed our internship, did her interview with Mohammed, this same Mohammed, did her interview with Mohammed, and she got a job with the NHS with full visa sponsorship here in the UK. Same, Benga got a job as a business data analyst in Poland. I worked with Benga. Several other senior data associates worked with Benga. He got 4 different offers and went for the best. You'll get to listen to them, all right? But let's listen to the fantastic people we have on the call. From Lucky, I think I'll first of all call on Lucky and then we'll bring up the second person. Joan, please just confirm that we have Lucky. We have Lucky on the call. So Lucky, if you're there, please, you can unmute yourself. Let's get to hear from you, Lucky. You can put on your video so I can spotlight you for people to see. Okay. Hi, Lucky. How are you doing today? I can't hear you. I'm not sure if I'm the only one. I can see you are speaking, but I can't hear anything. No, I can't hear anything at all. So I think if you have your earphones, you might want to disconnect it. Perhaps that's the reason why.
Okay, good evening. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. We can hear you now, Lucky.
Good evening. My name is Lucky Okori.
Where are you joining us from, Lucky?
Yes, I'm joining from Lagos, Nigeria.
From Lagos, Nigeria. All right, go ahead and share your experience with us, Lucky. Let's get to hear from you. When did you join the program?
Yes, sorry, speaking with you this evening is like, okay, good evening. Yes, I joined the September cohort, and I'm currently still a student. It's really been a very fantastic experience, joining this Data Analytics. Like I always tell some of my instructors while we're in class, I actually had an accident.
Oh.
Yes, I had an accident in February where I thought I was going to pass out. So it was in the course of, during my surgery, my first surgery, in the month of July, they're like, okay, if I get back well, I'm not going to go back to that line of job anymore. And I must think of something else I must do. So that was actually what gave birth to thinking out of the box. And then data came up, and the best bet was Tenalytics. All thanks to Eddie Sama, on Instagram, and then the link and all that. And then like I've told some of my instructors, Tony, Kingsley, and all that. Personally, for every other person that is hearing me on this call, I didn't have any university background. Let me just put that out clear straight up. There is no university background, so nobody's going to be asking me if I have any tech experience or probably degree or whatever. No. But if I'm permitted, I can share so many beautiful dashboards that we've done, live cases that we've treated in a class. As a matter of fact, the last one we treated was an end-to-end, without going through any Excel, straight up into the Power BI, then published to the Power side to Power Service. So it was something I never believed personally I could do. This is just the month of October. We started September, and already we've gone through so many things that we can talk about. Dealing with so many things. We've done so many cases like retail, where we have descriptive analysis and then went further into diagnostic analysis and all that. We've done cases on Hollywood. We've done on go bikes and universities. Yeah, Zanzibar, we treated that as well too, as part of the case that is very done. So it's been a very, very beautiful journey, I must say. And personally, if you ask me as lucky data analyst, but now this head cannot carry it, but you've made it, analytics made it simple, is this what it's all about? If it's all about this, then let's go. Then there came this fear at some point that SQL, coding, you guys are going to code and all that. Well, here we are now. Yes, we might have 1 week break. And then we've had a video already for SQL. And from all thanks to Femena, he made it easy. And then suddenly that fear of coding is just not there. Is this what it's all about? Okay, we may not be doing Python, but if this is all we need for data analyst, then I think we're good with that. And we've been writing some syntax and all that, and we've been querying some tools, and then all thanks, analysis made it easy for me. I was really, really, really say it's beyond my imagination. Like I said, with zero background, 0 degree, no experience, and here we are today. We're doing so many dashboards that we've done already. So many dashboards we've done already.
Fantastic, brilliant, Lucky. I'm super. I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice and how.
You don't want to imagine. If you check when we did the publish, I actually tagged you that. Okay, no, you're going to see my work. You're going to see one of your students. You're going to be proud of some of your students, and all that. So, my first class. Let me just put it out straight. My first class when the September cohort started, because I deferred from August to September. I had the first surgery. And then they said they didn't do it well. They have to do it again. I have to go back again under the knife again in the month of August after the strike and all that. And as a matter of fact, my first 2 classes, I was still in the hospital in the ward. I have to bring my laptop, and I had my first week and my second week and all that. Dapo, I don't know. Sometimes I was like, this guy is a ghost. He's just like Excel. He eats Excel. He breathes it. He made Excel look easy. Thank God that it was his time, that period. And within the first 3 weeks, we were done at least. We're like, okay, Excel, done and dusted. And then we moved into Power BI. And from there, here we are today. So it's been a very, very easy, smooth journey for us, for the sets generally.
Fantastic, brilliant. And that's Dapo on the screen. For those wondering who Dapo is.
No, this is not Dapo. I'm expecting Dapo to be there. That'll be the Dapo. I'm saying, no. He looks so too gentle, and it's just so good. He's super good. He's super Absolutely. Good. And Tony complimented that very well. That was a live class tutor. She made it easy for us as well. And she's very. I keep telling people, these people, they are not ghosts. You're not dealing with ghosts. You are dealing with people that have phone numbers that you can reach out to. If you are lost anywhere, reach out to them. They will hold your hands and bring you out of the cloud again, and you find your feet back again where you want to be. Tony made it simple for us. She really made it. She will go back again and again. Like some point that I'm not that patient too. I mean, people take you back and you go for it, but they are smiling, ever smiling, and then easy. They make the job easy for us. Thank you. Adisa, thank you.
It's a pleasure anytime.
Everybody has been super cool. That's super cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. It's a pleasure anytime, Lucky. Thank you for also, joining 10 Analytics, and good to see you in very good spirits after your surgery and everything. Good to see that you're up and running, and also seeing that you're getting immense value from the training itself and taking out time to come share your story at almost 11 p.m. Nigerian time. We deeply appreciate you coming up.
I've been on this call because we had a group meeting, a group brainstorming for the presentation we're going to have on Tuesday. And immediately we finished that group, I joined the call already, and I must tell you, the value is not matched. You can't match it at all. You can't match the value at all.
All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucky.
All right.
Fantastic. So this is Lucky. Lucky joined in September. You heard him. You heard all the things Lucky said. I don't have to mention them again, but having meetings, to attending classes, to having people that are there to support and ensure that he gets things done the right way. If you are stuck, you have somebody to help you address those challenges, and that's Lucky. Of course, you also have Ikmat, you have Benga. I'm not going to bore you with two more testimonials. For those of you that are joining for the first time, it's likely you haven't seen all these fantastic people that have gotten jobs after joining that training with us. My recommendation to you is take out time. When you get the slides, listen to them, listen to their story. Like I mentioned, Ikmat, 4 years out of work, joined our program, got a job as a data analyst, full visa sponsorship in the UK with the NHS. Benga was in Poland, 2 years, couldn't get a job, came into the program specifically because of Tableau. Because whenever he tries to apply to a job, Tableau was that stumbling block. He tried to learn it himself, struggled, and then he came to us. We worked with him. Benga got a job as a business data analyst. You have Ramat. Ramat got a job as a business analyst with the NHS as well in the UK, full visa sponsorship, 3 months after joining our training program. All right. So I want you to listen to these fantastic people and get to hear from them and what they have, and also learn from their story as well. Okay. John, you want to say something? Go ahead, please.
Tosin is on the call.
Oh, Tosin is on the call. I searched for Tosin, but I couldn't find Tosin. So Tosin joined the program just like Lucky joined, but Tosin got a job. All right. So I'm going to bring up Tosin. There are 2 Oluwa Tosins I can see here. So Tosin, if you can just raise your hand, I would ask you to unmute yourself so I can bring you up. Oluwa Tosin. I had searched earlier, but I didn't find Tosin, so that's why I was about to move on. So Tosin, if you are still on the call, please just raise your hand and I would ask you to unmute yourself. Or Joan, please help me with that, please.
Yes, sir.
All right. So it's always good to see people that are doing the things that you want to do so that you know that it is achievable and they can get that done as well. All right. So while we wait for Tosin, while we wait for Tosin to come up, I'm just quickly going to show you Ikmat's story for the benefit of those that have not seen it before. I don't know how to raise my hand. Tosin, okay, I think I've seen you now, Tosin. I'm going to look for you now and ask you to unmute yourself. Okay, Oluwa Tosin. Okay. So I've asked you to unmute, Tosin. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi, Tosin. Do you also want to put on your video so we can spotlight you and people can see you?
All right, no problems.
So let's get to see Oluwa Tosin. Fantastic. Tosin, where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Coventry in the United Kingdom.
From Coventry. All right. So Tosin, tell us about your experience joining the program. How did you get a job?
Well,
and how fantastic the job is?
I joined in August 2023, data analyst, so the DA 20 August cohort.
Fantastic, brilliant. Tell us what you think. What for somebody getting started who wants to join the program with the aim of also getting a job as a data analyst, what would be your advice to that person?
Well, I would say is that all this midweek session, the mentorship session, the CV review session, don't take any of it for granted, because I would say all this CV review session, I don't participate. But when I got this job offer, I knew that I really need this preparation, because my mind has always been that, okay, fine, because I'm a student and I'm working part-time, and most data analytical courses in the UK, they're always full-time. So I just figured there's nothing for me till the end of my degree. That's still February. So I've never been, I don't even have a data analytical CV. So it's just my normal hustling and picking shift CV that I have here currently. So when I got the offer, I knew that yes, I need to, like, okay, go back to this session. So I started watching videos on all these mentorship session and everything. So I started watching all the videos, but I still felt like there's still something I need to do. So I actually entered the group and I messaged Mohammed that I need an interview preparation, which he booked for me with the help of John. So I was actually like prepped with Kingsley. So, and when I did the interview, he made a statement. He said he doesn't, like, he's not the person that would employ me, but he knows that with the preparation he actually did for me and the way I answered it, I've gotten the job already. And I was like, hey, I don't know yet, because all odds were against me. I won't lie. Because when I got this call, I've been applying for that role since February, ever since I moved to the UK, but I've not gotten. So I've just like moved to normal support and care jobs, which, like, that's the best I can get. So after 6 months experience, I think that there's always this, I don't know, if you have a 6 months experience in the UK as a part-time worker and 3 months as a full-time worker, I think they start like taking you serious by then. So they just rang me up. I was even in the middle of an induction with another care job. So they just rang me up. I'm like, these people that called me, they are August visitor. Now what can I do? And when they called me, I'm like, okay, they are calling me because the role they called me for is a fraud analyst role. It's an analytical role, but it's with bank and we deal with credit cards. So when people have issues, cases of frauds with their credit card, our role is to like analyze and to see, to investigate, because someone might have spent money on their credit card and not want to take responsibility for it. They can call the bank and like, I think I've been scammed. So our role is to like analyze everything that's happened with the account to see if it was an actual fraud or just irresponsibility on the part of the account holder. So when I got the call, I was like, what can I do? I'm not expecting any analytical role until February. So I messaged Mohammed and he was like, I should message John. So John messaged me herself and he booked an interview with me with Kingsley. So when I had interview preparation, I sent the role description to Kingsley and also John as well. So when they prepped me for the interview, and Kingsley made a statement that how well have I seen the interview session? I said that I've checked all the videos and I've checked every session. I'm like, he said like the all the questions he asked, I answered them very well. I was like, I've gotten the job. But I said like there's all odds are against me because the day I got this call was on Monday. That particular Monday, the role was to start next Monday. So I have just a week to start. And you know the way UK is, you have to go through references, DBS check, and everything. So they asked me if I can come for face-to-face interview because I did telephone interview that day. And they asked me if I can come from face-to-face interview the next day. I said I can't come because the induction I was doing was on that Monday and Tuesday because I've done a lot of interviews and I've not gotten jobs. So I won't jeopardize the interview I'm currently induction I'm already doing. But just that I'm not sure that I'm going to get. So I told them I won't be free on Monday, on Tuesday, the next day. It's all about Wednesday and Thursday. I was having my care job on Wednesday and Thursday. I said I won't still be available. So the only day I'll be available was on Friday and the job starts on Monday. So between Friday, which was like the last day of the week, I'm supposed to do all references and all paperwork that day. And that's if they've not gotten anybody else they want for this role, which means I have to like put in extra effort and I have to put in my best to get that role. So I was like, I can't do this on my own. I have to share it on the group because I was skeptical. It's not data analytical role. It's fraud analyst, but still it's an analytical role. So when I got offer, I messaged them and they booked in a session for me. The session was on Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was like a day before, 2 days before. So when I did the session, Kingsley was not even fair to me. He grilled me a lot. He asked a lot of questions. Even he went as far as he was like he was the one going to employ me, and he was like very critical with me. But thank God for the session I watched, and this is what I'm going to say to people taking this course. All this preparation, all this mentorship session, don't take it for granted. Even in the interview, I was sent a description. I was told that all this SIT approach, all this STAR approach, that I should take note of them. Even the fact that I got the job, I was told that when they commended me, when they called me back, because when I went for the interview, after an hour or two, because it was on Friday, they needed to start on Monday. They called me immediately, like an hour or two. They called me that I've gotten the job. But they said that they were very, very like excited and they were very impressed with me to start. But one thing I need to do is to make sure that when I'm answering interview questions, I need to like put in my interview questions into the SIT and STAR approach, because I was just I don't have any experience as a fraud analyst. So it was difficult for me to put in a real life experience unless I was going to make one up. So all my answers to the question were just based on my knowledge, what I've gotten from this role. So it wasn't based on experience, and it was difficult for me to just put it into the stance approach. So they gave me the job, and they said like I sold myself really, really well. And one thing I've learned, I think it was you that took that mentorship session. They said, you said when we're introducing ourselves, we need to sell ourselves really well, even more than the way we are. So when I was introducing myself, I knew it was a fraud analyst role, not data analytical role. But I didn't limit myself to just my customer service experience, my problem solving skills. I told them whatever it is that I'm doing. I told them that yes, so I'm currently taking a consultancy role in a data analytical role with analytics, and I've also used. You made mention of one thing. You said we should always follow using X to solve Y and achieve Z.
Yes.
So I told them a lot of real life experiences that I just picked up in my head, and I told them that yes, so I used because I was like I had my CV next to me. So whatever it is that I told them that I did with my X and achieved with my Y, with Z, I told them that yes, so I used Power BI for this. Because of this, we had this problem, and I used this Power BI to achieve this. And the result of this, like for the next 1 or 2 months, we achieved this, and there was a lot of increase on this. And you're really impressed because anybody that is going to employ you, they want someone that to add to them, not a liability. So I told them that yes, so I used this to apply this in my previous role back in Nigeria, and they was really impressed. And I told them that my current analytical role, I'm coaching people, and I'm actually like taking a consultancy role. And whenever I'm called upon, even this session I'm doing now is a consultancy role because I was my journal, like I need to like to share my experience and everything. So it's going to my CV. So whatever it is that you can be, my advice for people taking up this course is that whatever it is you are, whatever it is that you can be, whatever it is that you can be, take note of everything and don't sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself short. That's one thing I've learned. Any role that you're going to get, they are going to train you for it.
Yeah.
As long as you have an experience in it, and you know what you're doing, you don't have any problem. Just like tell them that I am this, I'm that, and I can do this, and I can do this for you. When they ask me, is there any question? I don't have any question, but I ask them that, what do they have to offer me? Because in the next 2 or 3 years, I need to know if this company can actually add value to me, because I'm here to add value to this company. But it has to be like sort of mutualism. I need to know that if you guys can actually add value to me, that in the next 2 or 3 years, is there like a career progression? And they said, the lady that interviewed me used herself as an example. She said, when she entered with the role that I'm entering in. Now she's the manager. So she told me that if I know what I'm doing and I can actually add value to the company, under 2 or 3 years, I can actually get a managerial role. And I was actually excited for that. And I'm saying a big thank you to Analytics family, because when I started this role, I just felt like I needed to get a skill. I was not really sure of what I'm doing. I just wanted to follow the trend. But when I started, I realized that yes, this is not just about following the trend. This analytics is actually adding value, adding wisdom and knowledge to people. And I can say that, so whatever it is that was 2 or 3 months ago, where was August? August was 2 months ago. Yeah, like I am way past that now. And where I'm still going to, because this thing data analytical course, because this fraud analyst I'm still doing with Nationwide Bank is just a stepping stone. No? It's just a stepping stone. When I can actually work full time, I can get a real data analytical course. They will see the real data analytics in me. They will see the real, like, this guy is actually from data analytics, not just from any other place. So I'm really grateful for this platform, and I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. Thank
Fantastic.
you. I'm really grateful.
It's a pleasure anytime, Oluwatosin. And thank you for coming to share your story. Oluwatosin, you've heard Oluwatosin joined the program in August, got a job as a fraud analyst in the UK, and he's doing fun. You can hear the, the joy, the enthusiasm in his voice, and I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Oluwatosin said something that people don't know. Well, let me mention it. I used X, which is something I always say. I used X to solve Y or to build Y, depending. I used X to build Y to achieve Z. Okay? This is one thing, that to achieve Z, I'm not going to mention what you use it for. You use it during interviews and on your CV. But what does it mean exactly? And these are some of the structure that would help you answer key questions during interview as well. Thank you very much, Oluwatosin, one more time for coming to share your experience with us. And for those who wants to be a part of the program, just like Oluwatosin joining the program, the fee is £400 if you are paying in pounds, 400,000 if you are paying in Naira, 600 Canadian dollars if you are paying in Canadian dollars. But then we have an amazing discount for you, like I said at the beginning. And that discount is for the first 20 people off this session that joined. You want to be a part of the program, rather than paying £400, you get to pay 300 to be a part, and you can make your payment in 2 installments. So when you hear Oluwatosin, I don't even want to ask him how much his salary is, because at the beginning in August, he would have been like, this is a lot of money to join the program. But today he got a job, and I can bet you that Oluwatosin, the way he's even smiling, Oluwatosin, you've turned off your video, is doing very, very well. All right. £200 to get started, get registered, and then £100 1 month after the program commences. And if you're paying in Naira, 300,000 to be a part, 200,000 to get registered and get a welcome kit, and 100,000 1 month after the program commences. And Canadian dollars, instead of paying 600, you get to pay 500, the discounted fee, 350 to start, and then 150 1 month after the program starts. Oluwatosin started in August, got a job working as a fraud analyst in October, and so many other professionals, like I mentioned. And how do you be a part of the program? How do you make payments? How do you join? How do you join the Analytics program starting on the 4th of November? All you have to do is use the link you have on the slide, which, of course, like I mentioned, I'll be sharing with you as well. But also, I just wanted people to see how fresh you are in terms of the money you're making now. You can put up your video, and we shouldn't keep you here any longer. Thank you very much one more time, Oluwatosin. I'm just joking around. Okay, so just to show you how to make payment to be a part of the program, all you have to do is click on the link, and it takes you to where you have the different links to make payment, depending on how you want to make payments. In Naira, you click on this link, it takes you to a pay stack option. For those in Ghana or across West Africa, we always advise make payments using the pay stack option. All right, if you click on that, click on Data Analytics, and you can choose to make the full payment, which is 300,000 right off the bat, full-time payments, one-time payment, or you can make the parts payments of 200,000, get into the class, and then the balance of 100,000 1 month after the program starts. And if you are somewhere in Europe, you want to make payments in dollars, in US, for example, you want to pay in dollars, you want to pay in euros, you can pay using the pound option, okay, using PayPal. Click on either the first part payment or the full payment. First part payment is £200, and you make payments using the PayPal option. And all you have to do is click on buy now, and then it will request for you if you want to make payments using the PayPal itself or make payments using your credit or debit card. You just select that, and then you make payment to be a part of the program. And you can also make payment doing a direct transfer using the pound account details that will be sent and shared with you, and also the Nigeria account details, which is a Fidelity Bank account. All right. The discount is not available to everybody from this session because we know people join multiple sessions. All right. So from this session, for those who would want to be a part of the program, the first 20 people to join the data analytics program from this session gets to pay the discounted fee. All right. And if I were you, to take advantage and ensure that I'm a part of the program, I don't miss out on the discount. Even if you want to join, somebody paid and said, oh, I'll join in January because I'm not going to have time to be a part, but I want to secure my slots and secure the discounts. So if I were you, I'll take a screenshot of this page that has the payment details and gets to be a part of the program. You need to send us a message at any point in time. You can do that by sending us a message on any of these numbers, and one of our customer success associates would reach out to you and help you address any questions that you have. All right, remember, the discount is for the first 20 people to join the program. Okay, I'm going to take, I think, the next 10 to 15 minutes to take 1 or 2 questions, and then we start to call it a day. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask your questions. I'll be very happy to answer your question. Okay, feel free to ask a question. I'm in, I will be making payments. Absolutely, Austin. Okay, so I'm going to take questions. So if you have questions, what of CDs, Hajara, all you have to do is make payments using the pay stack option. It converts the Naira equivalent to CD for you to make payments. Okay. So I'm going to take Sharif. Sharif, I've asked you to unmute yourself. You have a question, Sharif. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Sharif.
It's been an amazing night, and I've been able to catch up a lot. And by the grace of God, I've actually secured my slot. I've paid the initial payment, just to prepare myself ahead of when the start is going to be when the start is going to be starting. I want to know how I can download the Power BI on my Mac because I'm not using the Windows, so I'm using the Mac.
Okay. Have you received the welcome kits, Sharif?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So as soon as you receive that, which should be tomorrow, 23rd, as soon as you receive your welcome kits, you will have a link that will guide you all through the steps on how to install Power BI on Mac. Okay.
Okay.
So you'll receive your welcome kits tomorrow on the 23rd, and you'd have the link in there for you to do that. It's also in the Google Classroom. Okay. So once you receive the welcome kits, you'd have the link to join your classroom.
Okay.
So if you can see my screen at the moment, Sheriff, you'd see how to download Power BI on Mac.
All right.
So you have that in the welcome kits that'll be sent to you tomorrow. So you get that sorted out. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Sheriff. All right. So I'll take Miracle. Miracle, please go ahead and ask your question.
All right, thank you very much, Adaize. Wonderful presentation, great opportunity, and this is the first time I'm staying glued to a presentation for this long. I've been here from the very start, 8 a.m. 8 p.m., sorry, and I'm still here. So what I just want to plead for is I would really like to be part of this cohort, and I don't want to miss out because maybe 20 other persons have already registered before I register.
Okay.
If you could just give that opportunity for me to be able to register, even if 20 people have already registered. I really want to be part of this cohort, which is the reason why I'm still here till past 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Miracle. Not a problem at all. So what I always advise, okay, just take down our number. Okay, so you can take a screenshot of this page or just take down our number. Send us a message. All right. Now the easiest way to book your slots is to make a payment to join the program. But if you have a specific day you want to make payments and you want to communicate that to us, because some people can't really make payment during the weekend. We know that they have to go to the bank physically. So just send us a message and let us know, and we'll organize that for you. All right, just take note of the number, send us a message, and we'll organize that for you, Miracle. And thank you for staying this long, and everybody else on the call that stayed right from the beginning up until this moment. It's been a very, very long day. All right, Miracle, I hope that addresses your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll get in touch through the number. Thank you.
You're welcome, Miracle.
All right. Yeah,
all right. Let's take question from Speedstar. Speedstar, I think I saw you yesterday during the HR masterclass. Correct me if I'm wrong, Speedstar. I've asked you to unmute.
Yeah, good. I don't know your time, like good evening here. So good evening to you all.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask a question.
Okay.
It seems I've been reading what do you call it? Job requirement as far as data analytics is concerned, but I almost always, not almost, I always find out that one of the requirements is degree in IT field. So assuming someone like me, I'm not having a degree in any of the IT fields, is it possible to still make it to into data analytics?
Okay, very good question, Speedstar. I'm not sure that's your real name anyways, but my first degree was in industrial chemistry. And if I can bring up Oluwatosi and everybody else I don't know anybody that actually studied anything related to data or even computer science, even though computer science is the common course people would study. But most of the time, the way job descriptions are designed and created, they are designed based on the ideal and what that organization thinks, would be the ideal. But you move from what you currently find today to a more skill-based environment. Okay, skill-based environment in the sense that whatever you studied in the university does not matter. You can be a data analyst and have studied physiology or studied psychology or studied industrial chemistry, just like I did. But then I'm able to get into data analytics because all the skills that I need to get the job as a data analyst, I've been able to learn the skills and I can apply the skills doing amazing stuff eventually. So degree doesn't matter. What you study doesn't matter, except it is a very high level role where they want PhDs and people with doctoral research qualifications to apply to that role. Outside than that, getting a job as a data analyst doesn't matter as when it comes to what you studied in the university. So that's the list of your concern. What you studied is a list of the concerns you have getting into the space as a data analyst. Okay. To pay in Naira, can we use the transfer? Absolutely, Emmanuel. You can do a direct transfer. Once you do a direct transfer, and for those that also make payments, so I don't forget to tell you, all you have to do is just go to the same link that you have used. So let's assume you don't want to make payments using the pay stack or using your credit or debit card, you've done a direct transfer, take a screenshot of your proof of payments, come to the link and click on upload your initial receipts. So it takes you to this form where you enter your details, your email, your first name, your last name, your gender, type of payment, and you have other details, and you'd see the option to upload your proof of payment. All right. Once we confirm your payments, you receive a welcome kit. You receive a confirmation email from us that we have received your payments, welcoming you into the program. And then the subsequent email would be to get your welcome kits to join the program. All right. So what's your question, Leslie? You said I'm not answering your question. I'm not sure I've seen the question. If you can type it again and send it, but I'm just scrolling to look for it. I'm not sure I've seen the question, Leslie. Okay. Do we get to study Power BI when we are doing the data science course? Do we get to study? No, data science is Tableau. You're going to learn Tableau as a data scientist. And that's simply because the data science program is focused more on predictive analytics and forecasting. So as a data scientist, Tableau has a lot more predictive and forecasting features compared to Power BI. So that's why the data science program is focused more on Tableau and not Power BI. So I think I've addressed that question, Leslie. So for the data science program, you learn Excel for predictive and forecasting, predictive analytics and forecasting. You learn SQL, you learn statistics, you learn Tableau for predictive analytics and forecasting, and then you learn Python for exploratory data analysis, for machine learning, and also computer vision. All right. I was going to show you the platform very quickly before I take the next question. So once you get into the program, just like Sharif asked the other time, when you receive your welcome kit, you have a link to join your class. This is what a typical class looks like. You have your onboarding materials, first of all, and then you have your very first class problem solving. Now, the beauty of having or being in this platform is if you miss a class, you actually haven't missed anything, because all your live classes, just like this session is recorded and you all receive the recording, your live sessions are also recorded. Your classes are recorded. So you have the login detail to join the class. All right. You have the slides that was used during the problem solving class. I'm just going to click on it so you'd see. And this is the professional that took the class, Nene. She's a strategic planning professional. She currently works with Zelos, an authorized Nike licensee in the UK, worked with Denom Group, KPMG back in Nigeria, Bank of America in the UK, Loros Development Partners, and so on and so forth. And to show you that the program is also beginner friendly, just like Oluwatosin, mentioned, and also the other gentleman that came around to speak. What is data? That's where you start from, your very first class in the data analytics program. And then you move to types of data. What is data analytics? The different phases of data analytics, from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive. And then you learn more complex stuff as you move on. What is a problem? Okay. And you move on and on. But let's look at some of the things you do. So after problem solving, you move to your very first watch me do it video, which is on Excel. All right. And then you have all the videos you need to watch. The first one is on introduction to Excel. Okay, so these are the videos where you don't need a trainer to show you what to do. So what is Excel? You are looking at the Excel environment. What is a colon? What is a cell? What is the active cell? And so on and so forth. So you watch these videos and then you come to the live class the following Saturday, and then you get to work on a project. So the class is project-based. Let's look at some of the case studies. So this particular class, you work on 3 case studies, implementing the things you've watched in the video, solving problems. The first one is to help with the monthly budgeting, budget versus actual for a company. Case study 2, you help ACE Analytics to track its work hours. Case study 3, derive meaningful insights from Magic Electronics. So you work on these projects. This is case study 1, all right? You have your task where you're going to use conditional formatting, okay? You're going to create named ranges. The things you've seen in the video, you apply it in the real world. And this is how you learn, the best way to learn, project-based learning. Case study 2, okay? And you have your case study 3 as well, okay? Now, after you finish your first Excel live class, the following Sunday, which is a Watch Me Do It, you get your the second set of Watch Me Do It videos. You learn VLOOKUP, index match, and so on. You have an assignment, okay? And then you have something called drop-in session. I'll come back to explain what the drop-in session is. Then you have your second Excel live class. Looking at the material as well, you get to work on a case study for a university, helping them extract information from their different data sources. Now, this is how you learn, by working on projects. And every single class, you have the class recording. So if you miss the class, all you have to do is come back, watch the recording, ask questions in the chat, and then you get somebody answer those questions for you. You heard Oluwatosin. He didn't think he was going to make it to do the interview, but he sent a message to Mohammed. Joan organized the interview for him. Kingsley, who is one of our senior data associates, worked with him to the level where Kingsley was even very convinced that, Oluwatosin, the way you've answered these questions, you have gotten the job already. And Oluwatosin went ahead and eventually did very well during the interview and got the job. So if you click on the link, you'd see the access to the class, and then you can get to watch every single thing that happened in class, even though you did not attend the class on that particular day. We always frown against missing too many classes because then you struggle to catch up eventually. But it just gives you an idea that the best way to learn, I'm just going to pause so that we don't take too much time on that. So you have your mentorship sessions. You heard Oluwatosin talk about the mentorship sessions and the kind of advice we always give. I used X to build Y to achieve Z. That's a critical line in talking about what you have used different tools to do and what the outcome was eventually at the end of the day. And these are the flavors that gives you the capacity and the wherewithal to answer these key questions when you find yourself in front of potential recruiters. Now, your drop-in sessions are simply sessions where you have class on a Saturday, but you don't understand something. You've asked questions in the group, they've explained, but you still don't understand. A session will be organized where you would have somebody jump on a Zoom session, a Zoom call, and look at the problem you have. You would share your screen and they help you solve that problem during the drop-in session so that you don't take that same problem to the next class and you don't have things pile up for you. So that's what the drop-in session is. So Excel Live Class 3, you move to Power BI live classes. You get to see some of the fantastic projects that you work on. You have another mentorship session. So you have everything available here. The CV review sessions, you move on to SQL and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is just to show you, give you an idea of what the platform looks like, organized in a way that makes it easy for you to navigate the platform. Okay, so I'm going to take, I think, maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Do we need academic grades to get? You don't need any academic grade, Joshua. You don't. Nobody would ask you. Nobody cares about what you studied, whether you have a master's or not. Nobody cares about that. You'll be given an assessment, and based on the assessments and your presentation and the way you perform during the interview determines if you get the job or not. Let me ask Ibrahim Jimo. Go ahead with your question, Ibrahim. If we can move very fast, I probably will be able to take all the questions we have for today. Yes, go ahead, Ibrahim.
Yeah, I've already secured my slot, but I booked a one-on-one session on the career path, which I haven't gotten a reply on yet.
Okay, all right. So the clarity session is on Tuesday, Ibrahim. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Tuesday.
then
Yes.
one more thing. Yeah, look, to be candid, I was a bit skeptical about enrolling for this course because I've actually done I'm actually doing it now. This master class that you get to like do the course on data analytics for like 6 months. But to be candid, I'm actually lost in the class because the way you guys have gone about breaking down each of the levels for each of the topics, it's quite simplified and compared to the master class, and like that's why I actually even said, okay, fine. It's something I want to try because I studied accounting in school. And that's why I actually booked like a one-on-one clarity session with one of your guys. So yeah, so hopefully I would on Tuesday I'll probably just attend it and see how it goes.
Absolutely, no problem at all. I'll be in the clarity session, Ibrahim. So we'll get to have a conversation. I think one of the major, I would say, one of the major issues that people have, or one of the major misconception, is data analytics is difficult. All right, I think that's the major misconception. But
yes.
Until you get started yourself, and of course, when you learn without support, when you learn by just watching videos, you hardly learn anything. Okay,
Yeah, you're right.
You get stuck and there is nobody to help out. You have to figure things out yourself. So let's meet on Tuesday. Let's have that conversation around, the specific program you'd want to join. Do you want to move to another one? But I'll tell you for a fact, as an accountant, even if you were not an accountant, for anybody getting started on any of our programs, you won't have any problems because you are learning from the foundation. It's like learning to read and then you're learning from the alphabet. That's the way we approach the learning process. You start from what is data. You start from there, understand the problem-solving approach before you even start to use Excel. Even your Excel class, the first class, you are learning the Excel environment. If I click on file, what do I see? If I click on this, what happens? You are not building anything, the very first lessons. You are building the fundamentals. And that's the best way to learn, really, eventually.
From the scratch.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, what time is it on Tuesday?
We have two timings, 2 p.m. on Tuesday and also 11 p.m. So we have a slot for 2 p.m., another slot for 11. 11 is more for those around different other regions that might want to join. But then you can join anytime.
I think I'll prefer the 2 p.m. because I won't be going to work. I'm based in the UK, yeah, so I think that's 2 p.m. near for me.
That's fine. That's totally fine, Ibrahim. Okay. Looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday, Ibrahim.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. I think I'll take one more question from CC. So CC, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Now, for those who might have questions, and I won't be able to take the questions on the call because of time, you get, just like you heard Ibrahim say, he has booked a clarity session. You would also receive a link when you get the recording and the slides to book a clarity session, which is more like a one-on-one. Okay, so when you get that link, ensure you book the clarity session and then let's have a conversation. If you have questions you want to ask, I'm currently in supply chain, I don't know if I should do data science or data analytics, or I think I have this particular set of skills, which of the career path would be the best way for me to go? Join the clarity session and you'd have fewer number of people there, so it's easier to take all the questions from everybody. Cici, please go ahead.
Good evening. It's almost morning. It's almost morning here. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Where are you joining us from, Cici?
I'm in Nigeria. I'm in Abuja.
Abuja, okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I want to ask, for those of us in Nigeria and also Africa, especially Nigeria, securing jobs with this with the data securing data analyst job may not really be that easy compared to the people in the UK and other places. So my question is, having acquired this knowledge, is it possible for people like us who are here in Nigeria to apply for jobs remotely, probably to work online with the skills, like getting companies outside the country to work with this skill? That's my question.
All right, very good question, CC. But first of all, what gives you the impression that the jobs are not easy to get in Nigeria or across Africa?
Yeah, yes, we all know the labor challenge we're all having in Nigeria today. And in Nigeria, when it comes to data analysis, they work more with R. They do more.
So the reason why I asked the question is, are you a data analyst in Nigeria, or do you work in the space? Or is it what people are saying or what you've heard?
No, I'm not a data analyst yet, but I want to be. I want to be someday. You get, but from statistics and from reports, we've gotten to know that, I mean, yes, the job demand is there, but it's so limited. It's so limited. It's not vast like when you talk about the first world countries.
Yeah, there's never been a better time to be a data analyst in Nigeria than now. And I'll tell you very simple example. When I left the country, in a team of six data, a team that had six different data team, 6 data individuals with different roles. Out of the 6 individuals, we had just 2 people left. We had just 2 people left in the department. 4 people had resigned. And of course, you are aware of the jackpot syndrome, everybody traveling and leaving. The easiest way to travel out of the country and get a job is you being in data in the tech ecosystem. So you have a wide gap. And my former colleagues in my previous organization, they still reach out to me every day, almost every day. 2 months ago, I personally recommended 2 people to fill in a data engineering role for an organization in Nigeria. And let me tell you what was very interesting about that role. They reached out to me. I reached out to the participants in our data engineering program, and the salary was absolutely fantastic, about 1.2 million per month. So they reached out to me, and I got 2 people. I got their CVs and everything. I was meant to also do my own background check, to meet with them, have that first level interview before recommending their CVs. But I was very busy that week, and it took me about a week and a half, about 10 days for me to send their CVs in. And at the time I was sending the CV, they still hadn't gotten anybody for that role. And eventually they got to hire those 2 people for the data engineering role. So you have organizations today where the data team, the BI team, the team within their different tech departments have all left. They've left the country, either to Canada, to the UK, or to other places. And that's why I'm telling you that there's no better time to get into the space than today in Nigeria. And they're willing to go over and beyond to even get those people on board in terms of the salaries they're willing to pay. So don't, people bandy different, stories around that are totally not true. So you need to hear from people that are within that industry. Let them be the ones to tell you that this is what is going on for you to understand. I'm telling you from the point of what I've done, knowledge, and also helping countries back in Nigeria, even though I'm not in Nigeria, to get people filled in different roles, from data engineering to data analyst, financial analyst roles, and so on and so forth. There's a major gap in the workforce today across different regions in Nigeria because of people that have left key roles. All right. So I think the best thing is to position yourself, CC, to get those jobs available within
So what if the
Nigeria.
person tends to Japa, just like you said, the Japa syndrome, acquire the knowledge while still in Nigeria and still want to like relocate
Yeah.
sometime in 2024?
Can you see this gentleman on my screen, Abdul Rashid? Abdul Rashid joined, he lived in Nigeria, in Niger State. He used to stay in Ilorin before Kwara. He lived in Niger State and he works for a company in the US as a data scientist. You have earning in dollars, spending in Naira. He's even the head of the team where you have Indians, also part of the team, and he's the head of that team. You have Victor, and Abdul Rashid joined us just last year, I think sometime around September, if I'm correct, 2022. And within the space of a year, he's already leading the team in the US. You have Victor, also joined one of our programs, the HR Analytics. He used to work with Hugo in Chicago, Illinois. He has moved from that role today. He's currently in a senior position with, I've forgotten the name of the company now, but when he used to work with Hugo in Chicago, Illinois, he joined the program in October 2022, and by December, he got this job, earning in dollars, spending in Naira. So getting remote opportunities, like I always say, is always opened. The main thing is for you to have the skills to compete for those jobs and get the job. Now, if you want to leave the country and you even having that, I would say, opportunity to be here today to get to be a part and learn the skill before you decide to move, you are at a better position than if somebody that has already come into the country. Because what we've seen over the years, people coming to do their masters, they're stuck in their master's program. They really don't even know that they need to acquire these skills because they think their masters would give them the skill to get the job. But for anybody who has studied in the UK in any data related course, data science, whatever the case might be, you don't learn anything. Take it to the bank. If you know anybody that studies anything data, ask them. Do they learn skills that will give them the job when they finish their master's program? They learn zero. And they only get to realize when they're almost done. Their visas are almost expiring and they have to pay to, do the post-study work visa, spend a whole lot of money and so on and so forth. So the earlier you get the skills and get into the space, the best for you eventually, because you move into the country, you've positioned yourself. Excel in Nigeria is Excel in Canada. Power BI in Ghana is Power BI in the UK. It doesn't change. It's exactly the same set of skills. You'll be given an assessment. Whoever you're competing with will be given an assessment. Whoever can solve that problem, come into the interview, present your findings, convince the recruiters that you have good skills, you get the job. Okay? And that's the beauty, really.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Cici. So we're going to call it a day at this point because of time. And again, we'll have a whole lot of sessions coming up in the next few weeks. So all I need you to do, guys, if you haven't indicated, as long as you fill the attendance form, you receive the recording, you receive the slides, ensure you indicate that you want a clarity session. So you get on Tuesday, we have those clarity sessions for people that have questions. Even if you've made payments, I even advise that you make payments before you join the clarity session so you don't miss out on the discount. Okay? And if you have questions around, I'm thinking between data science and data analytics, would help you simplify to make that decision. Okay? Iyilade is asking, the session we had today is data analytics, not data science. Austin is saying, I'll be making part payment tomorrow. Austin, that's fine. Just send us a message to any of the numbers and you are sorted without any issues. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Please follow us across all our platforms, Instagram, Facebook, X, LinkedIn. See the amazing work we are doing over the space. And once you receive the slides and the recording, share it with a friend, share it with a colleague, share it with a family member. For those who will not be able, you might not be able to join maybe this November, but you know somebody that can benefit from it. All right. So be a help to them to ensure that they're also able to achieve their career goals eventually. Thank you guys for joining us, spending over 3 hours with us on a Sunday evening. We deeply appreciate your time with us. Have a fantastic week ahead. And for those who will be joining the Clarity session, I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. And for those who have paid and will be joining us on the 4th of November, I also look forward to seeing all of you. Thank you very much, guys, and cheers.